This is our protagonist, and by his appearance, you probably think he's strong. But the real meaning of strength is in this young lady. This beautiful girl with infinite attributes tells the protagonist that if he defeats the Demon King and unifies the continent, she'll marry him. The determined look in our boy's eyes made it clear what he was thinking. He swore he'd defeat everyone and everything in his way. So, with that in mind, the young warrior went to face the most powerful being on the planet. But nothing is more powerful than the strength of a man motivated by having those attributes as a reward. Motivated, the protagonist fought fiercely, as if he were Satoru Gojo. He led the strongest team in the human army against the demons. He wielded a legendary sword, but that wasn't the hardest thing he was carrying. He split in half every enemy that crossed his path. He was confident in front of the Demon King, who was almost defeated. But in that instant, a red alert screamed danger. It didn't even take 2 seconds before the Demon King shouted that if he was going to die, the great hero would go with him. The explosion was so colossal that the cameraman 50 kilometers away recording it had his hair burned off his head. Even with heat that melts mountains, and with the system window almost melting, our protagonist was alive. But from the look of him, maybe not for long, and that was true. He was about to die when the system asked him a strange question. Do you wish to reincarnate? Not believing this was real, he clicked yes, because come on, why not? And the bastard actually reincarnated. He opened his eyes and screamed with joy, yelling if the Demon King really thought he could kill him. But the idiot didn't realize he wasn't alone. People behind him were wondering if this guy had lost his mind or sniffed something weird. Something even weirder was that the protagonist didn't understand why he was here, near these low-level demons. An old man then shouted for everyone to hear that the Blue Guild was approaching. They needed to escape now to have a chance. Our protagonist was confused. Why was this old demon talking to him? The old man got pissed at the boy, and that's when our guy noticed a mirror miraculously placed in a spot that made no sense. He went over to it and showed us what was going on. The boy screamed like he was in a One Piece anime from the shock. If you remember, the protagonist was human, and now he had horns. What made him even more furious was that his childhood girlfriend was waiting for him so they could get married and have a legendary honeymoon. He went so crazy he even yelled at the system window asking if it bugged when it reincarnated him. He wanted to be reborn right now on the right side of the story, but the system revealed he could only reincarnate as a human again if he died as a demon. While the boy screamed alone, the adult demons started asking each other if Shounen had gone mad. But the old man replied that this boy was always an idiot anyway. One of the horned girls used her magic and warned that the members of the Blue Guild were arriving. With the strength that group had, no one here would be able to face them. That's why the girl begged them to take the escape route before it was too late. Everyone was scared, but the protagonist just thought that if humans were here, he could die to them and be reborn as a human. Seeing a way out of his problem, his face turned like this, and even scared the other demons. Without saying a word, the boy walked toward the direction where they said the humans were coming. The other horned folks were stunned by the attitude of the same cowardly idiot as always. Then the boy stopped and simply said that hiding wouldn't solve their problems. He would hold off and distract the humans so they could escape safely. The demons didn't believe he was someone who'd do something like that, not the idiot boy they knew. Before they could say anything else, a loud noise caught the horned one's attention. A magic circle on the ceiling of the cave made several rocks fall, blocking the cave entrance. Then she appeared, saying they had known each other since childhood, and at this critical moment, they wouldn't lose anyone else. This made our boy furious. This beautiful girl wasn't going to stop him from reincarnating to go find his gorgeous wife. He ran furiously, preparing a punch with all his strength. For a moment, I thought he was going to hit the girl, but he punched the rocks and failed miserably. The protagonist then screamed in rage, "Why did you interfere in this, you stupid woman?" The girl was stunned at being called stupid. The old demon exploded in rage and shouted, asking how the boy dared talk like that to Her Highness. The protagonist then said not to underestimate a man's determination to sacrifice himself for others. The demon princess forgot the insult and blushed, thinking she'd never seen him so manly. The other demons criticized the protagonist, saying he was never this brave, but our boy ignored them all and turned his back on everyone. He stopped and said to let him die with dignity. Even though it looked like an epic scene, the bastard's face was like this, but the demons couldn't see that. The princess was moved by the courage of her childhood friend. The old demon then told Her Highness to let the boy do what he wanted. Happy with that, the girl opened the path for him. The bastard protagonist couldn't leave on his own, and that's why he put on a whole show to get her to clear the way. Outside, he soon found the group of powerful humans. Even so, the protagonist was smiling in front of the humans, saying he only had 999 HP. The soldiers didn't turn down the free lunch and attacked all at once. The first to eliminate the demon would get the experience points. The protagonist cried with happiness until the sound of an arrow ripped through the air and several of them hit the soldiers. The one responsible, the old demon with a bow and arrow. The horned guy said it had been 3 years since he'd felt the thrill of fighting alongside the Demon King. He had come to save the boy, but our protagonist was stunned with rage. Then the old man started his explanation. 3 years ago, the Demon King was defeated by cursed humans and that hero. Since then, demons had no resistance left, and humans started hunting them like weeds. That's why the old man said the boy was right this time. Other demons appeared behind them and said the same, and now they would fight back. The human soldiers froze, and we don't know if it was because the demons were fighting back now or because of how stunningly beautiful they looked. The protagonist was speechless as he looked at the demons in front of him. Did he just make a huge mistake that would harm humanity? The demon princess awakened her hidden power and said that at her signal, everyone would attack together. The human soldiers panicked. They were told the strongest demon was only rank A. That girl wasn't rank A in anything, not in power, and definitely not in physical appearance. She charged a powerful energy ball, believing hard in it, and then a massive explosion was recorded by the hidden cameraman far away from the scene. And that was the result of the battle. The glorious and respected Blue Guild was annihilated, and the one to blame was this human boy in demon skin. All the protagonist wanted to do at that moment was lie down and cry for having caused this. The scene shifts to U Capital, among the demon population. A demon named Kyanduko questions the outcome of their latest plan. Though calling them horned demons seems redundant, everyone has horns. Another demon, wearing glasses, confirms that their plan failed. They had hoped for a dramatic rescue of Bingyi at the moment she was surrounded by the Blue Union. At that exact time, Master Chang Wujin would arrive with an army, slaughter the humans, and carry Bingyi off in a heroic gesture, ensuring she'd fall for him. But everything went wrong. Bingyi entered an exalted state and destroyed the enemy forces herself. Kyanduko turns to the commanding demon seated on the throne and asks what they should do next. Seated atop the throne, Huan proclaims that the full might of the military still lies under his control. With the backing of the 3 dominant demon clans, he intends to coerce her into marrying his son. He gives the order. His forces will march the next day to deliver a formal marriage proposal. To him, the idea of winning her affection is pure nonsense, a useless waste of time. Meanwhile, Bingyi finds herself thinking about the protagonist, recalling how courageous and masculine he seemed in that perilous moment. She calls for Lao Meyer and instructs her to bring Dongluo, saying she wishes to grant him a proper reward. Lao Meyer, puzzled, wonders what kind of reward the princess has in mind, suspecting it's something serious. She assures Bingyi she'll bring the boy at once. Elsewhere, Dongluo is drowning himself in alcohol. The system reminds him that he has accumulated 120 points and should start spending them, but Dongluo lashes out in irritation, refusing to use any of them. Glancing at his stats, he sees he's reached a D-rank demon level. Although still easy to kill, the real challenge is finding a human willing to do the job. Just then, Lao Meyer arrives, announcing that Her Majesty is summoning him, but Dongluo insists on testing something first. She questions his heavy drinking, but before she can press further, he pushes past her, telling her she's about to understand. He approaches a fire and tells her he needs her help, to die. She assumes he's asking her to end his life in some bizarre fashion, never expecting such audacity from someone so unassuming. Without hesitation, she knocks him out cold, declaring that now is not the time. As of today, he belongs to the princess. Later, Dongluo regains consciousness in front of Bingyi. She grants him unrestricted access to the palace grounds and bestows upon him the legendary Slayer's set, a gift fit for a hero. Lao Meyer is visibly stunned, recognizing the armor as that of the former Demon King. Dongluo inspects the gear, amazed by the rare and powerful items included. He can't understand why such an incredible set was given to him. Without making a fuss, he turns and casually announces that he's leaving. Bingyi, curvaceous and poised, is startled that the boy remains utterly unfazed by her presence. But as he walks away, several onlookers observe him closely. One elder, Wai Ming, is especially furious, appalled that Dongluo received the Demon King's set just for a minor deed. He insists such a treasure should only be granted to someone who's demonstrated true strength before the world, calling the decision reckless. Wai Ming, clearly aligned with the throne's general, remarks that this act leaves him no choice but to support Huan. At that moment, Dongluo walks up and calls out to him. him. Wai Ming, seething, is ready to cut him down for his arrogance. Instead, Dongluo calmly extends his hand, offering him the set. Wai Ming, stunned, demands to know why he'd part with it. Dongluo explains that he has no use for it, that it would only interfere with his goal of dying. He claims that it was Her Majesty who instructed him to deliver the armor as a sign of gratitude for Wai Ming's service to the city. Before Wai Ming can respond, Dongluo runs off with a carefree wave. The old man stands frozen, then cries out in anguish, calling himself shameless for even considering turning against the princess. Later, Dongluo sits alone on a staircase, lamenting that no one here seems willing to help him die. Just then, a soldier bows before him, announcing that the young master has finally returned. He reports that the general has decided to initiate operations the following day. Troops will be sent to request the princess's hand in marriage, and anyone who dares oppose will be executed on the spot. Dongluo perks up at this news. If that's the case, maybe he only has to endure one more day in this miserable place. The next day, in the kingdom's grand hall, numerous officials gather in conversation. Dongluo quickly grows bored, impatiently waiting for them to get to the point. Kanduko addresses the princess, stating that for 3 years now, human forces have steadily retreated, unable even to breach the city. Bingi agrees, acknowledging that the general has been instrumental in many victories and deserves recognition. Ku then says that if her praise is sincere, he has a favor to ask. He brings forth his son, Wu Jin, requesting that she bless him with marriage. He points out that Wu Jin and Bingi practically grew up together. Bingi, seemingly unaware of the implications, notes that they haven't seen each other in 3 years and innocently asks who Wu Jin wishes to marry. That's when Hu steps in to clarify. It's her. Bingi is taken aback, questioning his sanity, noting that the two don't even like each other. But the general brushes that off as irrelevant. He argues that with a woman now ruling Yun City for the first time in millennia, the realm is vulnerable and rumors of weakness abound. If she ascends alone, things will only deteriorate. Marrying Wu Jin would silence the doubters and stabilize the kingdom. Those standing behind the general nod in agreement, murmuring that Wu Jin is attractive and would make an ideal partner. But Labadi erupts in anger, condemning the general for cornering Her Majesty like this. Bingi hesitates, visibly distressed and unsure how to respond. That's when Dongluo sees his moment. He steps forward, prompting a startled official to ask where he's going. Dongluo grabs Bingi's arm and tells her not to let intimidation determine her path. Everyone, he says, deserves the freedom to choose the life that makes them happiest. Bingi, flustered and speechless, doesn't know how to react. Turning to the court, Dongluo scolds them for trying to force such a union. Wai Ming recognizes him as the boy who gave up the sacred armor just the day before. Bingi tries to apologize, saying she rejects the marriage proposal. But Hu interrupts, stating that everything he's done for the kingdom should earn him a simple reward. He urges her to reconsider carefully. Lady raises his bow, asking if this is his way of forcing her off the throne. Wai Ming also intervenes, cautioning the general not to go too far. But Huan stands tall, declaring that he alone commands the military, and demands to know if they're truly prepared to wage war over this. Bingi lowers her head and quietly asks everyone to stand down. Then, in a soft voice, she says she agrees with the general's terms. Dongluo, however, bursts out laughing. He says that as the rightful heir to the throne, Bingi has more claim to it than anyone else and should fight for it. He turns to Huo and asks why everyone is so afraid of him. The general approaches and asks who this child is. Dongluo spits in his face, calling him just a low-ranking general of the former Demon King and questioning why he has so much military power. In the end, he's just a lackey, so it doesn't make sense for him to act so arrogantly, all this while patting the fool's face. To top it off, Dongluo declares that Bingi is not only the most formidable and powerful person in the kingdom, but also the most beautiful. So how could that strange son of his ever deserve her? The enraged general tells Dongluo to shut up and asks who in the world would be worthy of her, if not his son, who is a great soldier. The cheeky Dongluo claims that he is. After all, 2 days ago in the cave they connected on a deep level. Dongluo is confident that the damn general will finally kill him now. Lady looks devastated while Mei Wei mutters that she knew this would happen. The audience begins to whisper that during the Blue Yumin invasion, Dongluo was the first to stand up and fight against them. Meanwhile, Bingi is emotional, moved by how far Dongluo is willing to go for her. The general, however, asks if Dongluo truly wants to die that badly. Of course Dongluo does, pointing at his neck and saying that if the general has the guts, he should just strike there. Otherwise, he'll lose his head, as Dongluo not only publicly humiliated him, but also tarnished the dignity of Her Majesty. For all these unforgivable offenses, the general declares that he will grant Dongluo's wish. Activating a powerful technique, his fist glows and everyone begins to flee. In an instant, he stretches his arm back and punches Dongluo straight in the chest. Wai Ming rushes forward, shouting that it's too late now, while Dongluo cheers, telling Hao Jingna to wait for him. He'll finally reunite with her. The entire area explodes. Flames rise as everyone watches in shock, but Wu Zhen appears confused. Someone emerges from the chaos, and Wu Zhen wonders how this is even possible. Dongluo had received a token from the Demon King's military order. Because of this token, he immediately jumped 40 levels and gained a passive ability. When his health drops below 30%, his defense increases 5-fold. Worse yet, every 15 attacks he receives are reflected back to dealing critical damage. The onlookers whisper that such a token can only be granted by Her Majesty. As far as they know, only the Demon King himself could bestow such a blessing. It turns out Bingyi was the one who gave Dongluo the token. She explains that her grandfather and father had entrusted the token to Huowen because of his loyalty in life and death. However, now she decided to give it to Dongluo, granting him the right to become a general and lead part of the demon army. Huowen doesn't look too impressed, assuming no one would dare betray him. He scans the room, waiting to see if anyone will challenge him, but Wai Ming steps forward and congratulates Dongluo, acknowledging him as the new general. Lottie decides to follow suit, reasoning that if Wai Ming supports him, it's best do the same. Soon, Huowen's soldiers begin recognizing Dongluo as the new general. No one wanted to align with anyone other than the queen's supporters. This pleases everyone except Dongluo, who is frustrated by the turn of events. Left with no choice, Huowen concedes, saying that since she entrusted the military order emblem to Dongluo, it proves she trusts him. However, he questions how such a weak soldier will command an entire army. To prove himself, Dongluo will need to lead a team through the ancient demon cavern, a test of survival only for those deemed worthy by the kings of old. The elders shout at Huowen, calling the test ridiculous, as no one has survived the cavern the past 100 years. Bingbi agrees, pointing out that the place is considered forbidden as everyone who enters dies. But Dongluo's eyes light up with excitement. A cave where no one has survived in 100 years? Perfect. The general laughs, calling them all cowards. Dongluo raises his hand, agreeing with the general and asking where this ancient demon cavern is. He's ready to go now. His friends are wide-eyed in disbelief. 200 years ago, during the Great Crisis, the Demon King sacrificed himself to protect his people, sealing the last demonic element in the cavern for the next king to claim. However, no demon has managed to pass the test since then. Wai Ming explains that entering the cavern requires at least 2 people. Who else would dare go with Dongluo? The soldiers murmur among themselves, wondering who's crazy enough to volunteer. The general declares that if Dongluo wants to take the test, it's up to him to find a partner. That's when someone raises their hand. It's Wu Zhen. His father slaps him across the face, demanding to know when he started making his own decisions. But Wu Zhen calmly responds, asking if his father thinks he's inferior. The soldiers whisper that someone like Wu Zhen, the future of their race, shouldn't risk himself. But Wu Zhen insists that only one approved by the ancients can inherit the king's power, and if there's going to be a new demon king, it should be him. His father doesn't look pleased, but the decision is made. The next day, Dooku approaches Wu Jin, congratulating him on the choice. He suggests that since Dongluo seems so weak, this could be an opportunity to kill him in the cavern. Out of nowhere, Wu Jin starts straightening his hair, saying he knows exactly what he's doing. Meanwhile, Meyer warns Dongluo that Wu Jin is selfish and that he should be careful. But Dongluo is thrilled, as Wu Jin's presence increases his chances of dying. Suddenly, Wai Ming arrives, addressing Dongluo as general and presenting him with the best buff and healing potions in the kingdom. Dongluo thanks him, but is obviously unhappy about it. Soon, everyone gathers at the entrance to the ancient demon cavern. Dongluo hands Wu Jin some potions. Meyer asks if they're ready, and Bingyi, standing strong and powerful, tells Dongluo that he must survive. While Wu Jin stares ahead, declaring that the next demon king of this place is about to be born, the formation activates and the golden circle disappears, taking both of them with it. Inside the cavern, Dongluo unlocks the mission, Test of the Ancestors. Invisible rank D monsters are already observing them. Wu Jin comments that he can't imagine the kinds of monsters that live in this place. Dongluo remembers that Meyer warned him about Wu Jin being very treacherous, so he knows he needs to stay cautious. He spreads his arms wide, announcing that he's only wearing a white armor set, meaning his defense stats are extremely low. Confused, Wu Jin doesn't understand why Dongluo is exposing himself like this when they don't even know who their enemies are. What Wu Jin doesn't know is that Dongluo is eagerly waiting for him to stab him in the back. Wujin summons a red blade, and Dongluo grows excited, convinced that his moment has finally arrived. Suddenly, someone yells, "Flower!" as something flashes past Dongluo. A creature appears, and in the next second, it's already been sliced in half. Dongluo is confused by Wujin's incredible potential, but before he can react, a swarm of creatures begins attacking them. Wujin stretches out his arm and summons another flower. As the creatures close in, he releases a flurry of petals into the air. A sudden burst of energy from his hands creates countless slashes, shredding the creatures to pieces. Wujin remarks that it's impressive Dongluo had already detected those soul bats. Using himself as bait to lure all the creatures and then taking them out in one fell swoop was a clever strategy. However, Wujin warns him not to think they are equals just because of something like that. Dongluo readily agrees, saying he knows he's nowhere near Wujin's incredible level. Not one to be humble, Wujin responds with, "Of course." The scene shifts as Wujin unleashes Annihilation Slash and activates the blade of the flower. Dongluo is left bewildered. His plan was to get stabbed in the back by this guy, but Wujin is so competitive that he's charging ahead, killing all the monsters instead. To make matters worse, since Wujin doesn't stop slaughtering the creatures, they're all focused on him, leaving Dongluo in no danger whatsoever. Still, Dongluo is determined to eventually draw all the monsters' attention to himself. He realizes he has 408 points to spend, and wonders if he could use them to help with this plan. Later, Wujin remarks that according to the map, they've reached the deepest part of the cavern. What strikes him as odd is that Dongluo hasn't killed a single monster yet. Wujin doesn't want to believe it, but maybe Dongluo really is just a weakling leeching off his experience. Suddenly, the ground begins to shake. The dungeon activates and a mission appears. Protect the Demon King's messengers. It's a high-difficulty mission with a 20-minute time limit. A horde of creatures emerges surrounding them. Wujin's expression changes immediately. He activates his flower ability and throws it toward one of the creatures, but it effortlessly blocks the attack. The creature opens its arms and fires a laser into the sky, summoning a meteor that crashes down on Wujin. The explosion is massive, but Wujin survives. Before he can retreat, however, another attack comes from within the flames. Dongluo, meanwhile, is thrilled. He's allocated all 480 points into strength, leaving his defense at the bare minimum. This way, with a single attack, he plans to draw every creature's focus onto himself. Wujin, struggling, convinces himself that Dongluo is clearly incomparable to him in this universe. It's obvious now that Dongluo is weak. Wujin unleashes his ultimate technique, causing a rain of thorns to fall upon the creatures. However, nothing happens. Standing before the largest creature, Wujin demands its death. The thorns embedded in the ground explode, but the monster remains almost completely intact with 90% of its defenses still up. Wujin is at a loss. He's used his final technique, and the creature is essentially invulnerable. It retaliates by firing purple energy at him. As all the creatures converge, Wujin finds himself surrounded. Meanwhile, Dongluo casually strolls closer. He sneaks up behind the massive creature and prepares a surprise attack. He lands a powerful blow, creating a gaping hole in the creature's body. Instantly, every other monster turns its attention toward Dongluo, tossing Wujin aside and rushing at him. Dongluo is stunned by the sheer strength he now possesses. He never imagined that 480 points in strength would be so effective. Wujin, on the other hand, is baffled, concluding that the monster must have a weak spot on its back. It finally makes sense to him. Dongluo hadn't been attacking because he noticed this from the beginning and was deliberately creating the perfect opportunity. Now, surrounded by monsters, Dongluo receives a system notification. You've drawn the attention of all creatures. Standing confidently with his arms crossed, Dongluo grins. His strategy has finally worked, and he's become the monster's sole target. One of the rank of creatures leaps at him, and Dongluo is certain it will finish him off. He gestures with his finger, taunting it to come at him, and opens his arms wide in celebration. Finally, he's going to become human again. But just as the monster is about to strike, a flower appears from behind him. Wujin activates the piercing petal shift. Wujin manages to cut down the creature, leaving Dongluo stunned as the remains fall to the ground. Only 3 messengers remained. While Dongluo feels desolate, Wujin comments that he liked Dongluo's strategy of drawing the enemy's attention. With Wujin having just dealt significant damage, the creatures turn their focus back to him. Dongluo, tearing his hair out, wonders what this guy is talking about. He had worked so hard to become the target of all the monsters. Wujin runs off and Dongluo chases after him, shouting that there's no way he's letting this guy die now. Dong Luo punches another creature, creating a massive crater in the ground. He spreads his arms wide and declares that the buff is now with him. Sticking his tongue out at the creatures, he taunts them to attack, proudly proclaiming himself as the perfect target. Standing still with a smug smile, he waits. But of course, Wu Jin attacks from behind again. The creature shifts its focus, and Dong Luo yells at it not to flee. Unfortunately, his next punch lands, completely depleting the creature's health bar. Now only one messenger remains. Dong Luo rushes toward it, pleading for the love of God. "Hit me already." The creature raises its blade, aiming it at him. Dong Luo smiles, ready to finally meet his end. But before the attack can land, another peal strikes from behind, slicing the creature apart. The remains fall to the ground, and all enemies have been defeated. Wu Jin compliments Dong Luo, saying his combat instincts are truly remarkable. He admits he didn't expect them to work together so efficiently. However, Dong Luo is furious. He never wanted teamwork in the first place. Wu Jin, trying to be gracious, admits he doesn't usually say things like this, but he acknowledges that Dong Luo is strong, worthy, even to compete for the greatest glory in the world alongside him. Suddenly, the ground begins to tremble. Electricity crackles from the floor as a voice echoes, announcing that it has been centuries since anyone dared to enter this cavern. The voice says it thought no new prodigy would have the courage to challenge for the title of Demon King. A flash of light blinds them both, and a massive blue dragon appears, congratulating them for passing the test. But the dragon declares that the real challenge begins now. Only one of them can leave the cavern alive. They have 10 minutes to fight to the death, and the survivor will inherit the title of Demon King. If they refuse, both will die by the dragon's hand. Wu Jin is visibly shaken, demanding to know why they must fight each other to the death. He hesitates, uncertain. Even as the future of the demon race, he can't gauge Dong Luo's true strength. Meanwhile, Dong Luo is overjoyed, shouting that God has given him a gift. Finally, the perfect opportunity to die has arrived. Wu Jin, seeing Dong Luo stripping off his shirt, assumes his opponent is incredibly determined and resolves not to lose. While Wu Jin prepares for battle, Dong Luo continues undressing, losing 50 defense points as he discards his armor. Standing in nothing but shorts and his dimensional backpack, Dong Luo yells at Wu Jin to hurry up and strike him in the chest to claim the Demon King's title. "Just hit me already," Dong Luo urges. "One attack, and you'll become the strongest of our generation." But Wu Jin grows suspicious. Why would Dong Luo agree to come to this place and now, just a step away from claiming the title? Want to give up? It doesn't add up. Dong Luo, frustrated, mutters to himself about how stubborn this guy is, shouting again for Wu Jin to take the reward already. Wu Jin places his blade at Dong Luo's neck and says, "You've earned the trust of Her Majesty, military power, and extraordinary strength. Even with normal attacks, you've been taking out rank-up plus demons. If we fought seriously, I might not even win. So why are you trying to surrender?" Dong Luo replies that the city of Yun needs the Hu family. General Hu has followed the king's orders for years and sacrificed everything for this place. He's the true hero of the land, while Dong Luo is just a lucky kid whose life doesn't compare to that of a general and his prodigy's son. For the good of the demon race, Dong Luo insists he needs to die here. Wu Jin lowers his head, recalling his mother's words that he should grow up to be a boy with a heart of gold. He realizes that the demon race will only truly become strong if they unite. Deactivating his blade, Wu Jin admits he has been humiliated. The boy before him, willing to sacrifice himself for the demon race, is the true heart of gold. Meanwhile, Wu Jin had entered this cavern intent on killing Dong Luo from behind. It's difficult to admit, but he had prioritized the title of Demon King over the good of the demon race. The dragon interrupts, reminding them they have only 8 minutes left before both will die. Dong Luo starts screaming, demanding to know why Wu Jin hasn't killed him yet. Wu Jin calmly says, "The Demon King said we'd both die in 10 minutes, so in the meantime, I want to try something different." Wu Jin brings his hands together, channeling energy into a massive dispersing blossom technique. The energy begins to expand, enveloping the cavern as the dragon watches. A sudden explosion consumes the entire cavern. The dragon roars, demanding to know how they dare attempt to break through the barrier. It's only been 8 minutes. Wu Jin, now in an exalted state, has advanced from rank A to rank A+. He turns to Dong Luo, asking what he thinks about teaming up to defeat the dragon. But Dong Luo bursts out laughing, declaring they're overestimating themselves. Woojin stands confidently, declaring that he now feels complete with power. The guy activated another boost, quadrupling his strength and doubling several other attributes. Dongluo, watching from a distance, mutters that this is going to be a problem. It's becoming increasingly complicated for him to die. Woojin charges at the boss, activating an illusion technique. The boss fires a laser straight at his head, seemingly evaporating him. But wait, it was only an illusion, and Woojin appears from behind, dealing 150 damage. Unfortunately, the boss has 99,000 HP. Undeterred, Woojin clings to the ceiling, boasting about his resilience before launching another attack. A laser comes his way, but he dodges and unleashes a flurry of slashes. The problem is, each attack only does 220 or 100 damage, barely making a dent in the boss's massive HP pool. Despite the meager damage, Woojin successfully draws the Demon King's attention. Suddenly, a thick cloud of smoke surrounds Woojin. He looks around in confusion before being struck in the face by the boss's tail. The impact sends him flying, and he lands right next to Dongluo. Dongluo is now terrified. If Woojin dies, he might end up inheriting the title of Demon King. The massive dragon lifts its head, preparing an attack. The blast hits Dongluo's square in the chest. He's bombarded with attacks while Woojin just stands there watching. Dongluo's HP drops to 2400 and falls to his knees. Woojin, furious, is moved by how heroic Dongluo is, blocking what would have been a fatal attack meant for him. Woojin pulls a potion out of his pocket, which restores 10,000 HP, and immediately tosses it at Dongluo. Dongluo looks at his HP bar and turns to curse Woojin, but it's too late. Woojin is already preparing resistance and regeneration potions. A barrage of potions rains down on Dongluo, boosting all his attributes. Reluctantly, Dongluo thanks him while standing, now fully buffed. But Woojin wastes no time, charging at the boss with laser-like speed. Woojin closes in on the boss's face, clenching his fist, which glows with green energy. Teleporting from below to above, Woojin lands a series of blows. However, the boss manages to paralyze him with a technique, leaving Woojin open for an attack. Just as the boss is about to strike, Dongluo rushes in from behind. Throwing himself in front of Woojin, he declares, "I'll block this." He takes another laser straight to the stomach. His HP starts dropping, and he's thrilled, until Woojin throws another potion at him, healing 5,000 HP. Dongluo, furious, yells at Woojin to stop tossing potions, but Woojin just smiles and says, "Don't worry, I'll always have your back, my friend." Together, they continue fighting the Demon King in the cavern until the boss's HP bar finally drops to half. Woojin, crouching, remarks that at this rate, they might actually win. However, the system warns them that reaching half HP has triggered the boss's passive ability, Lake's Return, a rank SSS skill that regenerates 100,000 HP per minute. Woojin, stunned, exclaims that this makes no sense. Even if they attacked non-stop, they wouldn't be able to outpace the regeneration. The boss taunts them, saying they're far too weak, and it's laughable that they believe they could kill a god. With a deepening roar, the boss inflicts massive damage on both of them. The roar applies numerous debuffs, including poison, which causes their health to steadily decline. Both warriors collapse to the ground. Danmu is nearly face down, while Woojin activates a one-time survival skill that saves him from death. He struggles to stand, but their potions are completely depleted. The boss raises its head, preparing a final attack. Both fighters know they've lost, but Danmu says they haven't lost just yet. He explains that as long as he dies, Woojin can complete the challenge. Placing a hand on Woojin's shoulder, Danmu tells him to claim the title of Demon King. Woojin, confused, asks what he's talking about. As the dragon unleashes his final attack, Danmu grabs Woojin by the collar and hurls him away, shouting for the future of the demons. Woojin, mid-air, watches helplessly as Danmu stands his ground. For a moment, Danmu thinks that for a demon, Woojin isn't all that bad. As the attack engulfs him, Danmu is vaporized. Sometime later, a golden light descends from the heavens, shining upon Woojin. The dragon congratulates him for passing the ancestors' test. It explains that in the past, the ancestors sacrificed their lives to protect the demon race. The great king sealed the most precious ability within the demon cavern, awaiting someone worthy to claim it. For over 200 years, every demon who passed the test ended up fighting each other, killing themselves in the process. A demon who murders another is not qualified to hold the title of king. Only Woojin and Danmu, who supported each other until the end, have truly faced the challenge together. Woojin earns recognition as a strong man worthy of the Demon King's legacy. The dragon explains that the Demon King's successor must have the courage to protect others without fear of death. Naturally, Danmu is posthumously granted the title of king recognized by the ancestors. He earns 5 million experience points, levels up 10 times, and unlocks an SSS skill that regenerates 100,000 HP per minute. Danmu also gains the title Demon King, granting numerous additional attributes and making him undetectable. The scene shifts to the outside world, where the onlookers are in shock. Word spreads that the demon cavern has been cleared. Dobu remarks that the prophecy might actually come true. This generation could witness the rise of a demon king who will reunite the demon clans. Bing Yi, emotional, notes that the last true demon king was Liu Yun, one of the greatest demons to have ever lived. A true king only appears once every few centuries. They possess an aura that sets them apart from any other demon. Huo Bin stands confidently, declaring that he always believed his son would be the pride of the heavens. It was natural. He thought that his son would receive the title of king. However, Wei Ming interrupts, saying it wasn't your son who became king, it was General Dongwo. The crowd's eyes widen in disbelief. Meanwhile, Dongwo is in a quiet corner talking to a demoness. He's asking for more drinks, but she refuses, saying he's too young for that. Dongwo looks desolate. With his new ability to regenerate 100,000 HP per minute, dying has become impossible. He laments, saying there's no way he can return to his own world now. Hao Lin, the person he dreamed of being with, was left in the past. As he wallows, someone is watching him from the shadows. Dongwo notices, turning to look, but the figure disappears. The scene shifts to reveal a green-haired girl sneaking another glance at him. The next moment, Dongwo appears right behind her, asking why the brat is following him. Startled, she falls back, tears in her eyes, insisting that he isn't scary and she's not afraid. The child introduces herself as Tianjiao, a rank D nuclear demon. Dongwo, unfazed, demands to know why she's following him. She stands and nervously explains that she wants him to accompany her to Bailing Cavern. Before Dongwo can respond, another person approaches and Tianjiao explains her situation. She had received the chance to make 3 wishes, but she needed to go to Bailing Cavern to claim them. The child reveals that she wants to enter the cavern, but isn't allowed because she hasn't fully transformed into an adult demon. Out of nowhere, an old beggar yells in Dongwo's ear, warning that it's clearly a scam. Who'd believe something like that, the beggar says, but Dongwo, curious, asks Tianjiao if this wish thing is real. He recalls hearing about a fountain of wishes in the demon world and is eager to find one himself. Tianjiao reassures him, explaining that she had to pass countless tests and spend $50,000 to earn this opportunity. The beggar scoffs, telling them both to stop falling for such obvious tricks. But Tianjiao suddenly gets emotional, revealing that this is her last chance. She worked tirelessly at the Bailing Club to earn that money because her mother's heart is failing, and she has only 1 month to live. She's desperate to save her. The beggar mutters that only an idiot would go with her, but Dongwo surprises him by agreeing on one condition. She must give him one of her wishes. I'll either wish to reincarnate as a human or to lose all these overpowered abilities, he declares. Tianjiao, overjoyed, agrees to give him 2 wishes if he helps her. Frustrated, the beggar walks away, muttering that these 2 lunatics deserve each other. As he leaves, the beggar recalls that Bailing Cavern is rumored to house a black market group that's been very active recently. The scene shifts to Dongwo and Tianjiao standing before the cavern's gate. Dongwo presents the invitation and completes the scan, allowing the door to open. As they proceed through the corridor, someone remarks, "The fish took the bait." In another room, a demon orders the door sealed, trapping them inside. A blue-horned demon warns, "Don't hit them too hard, or they might die." Suddenly, doors begin to descend in front of Dongwo and Tianjiao. A figure with a sparking hand appears behind them and leaps forward to punch. Tianjiao warns Dongwo to be careful. The punch lands squarely on Dongwo, but his passive ability activates, negating all damage. He doesn't even flinch. Casually, Dongwo asks if this is the famed Bailing Cavern. The attacker is taken aback, finding Dongwo's calm demeanor unnerving. The protagonist remarks that he's here to collect wishes, only to notice a dangerous-looking woman in the background. Dongwo starts to question whether they've come to the wrong place. The blue horn demon laughs, mocking his naivety for believing in such childish fairy tales. They reveal their true identity as the largest human trafficking group in the Young Dominion. Their ruse about granting wishes was just a trap to lure victims into the cavern, where they could be captured and sold. If you obey the demon's sneers, you might leave here with all your limbs intact. So be a good dog and understand your situation. One demon slaps Dongwo across the face, commanding him to submit. But before anyone can process what's happening, the demon is sent flying by a casual punch from Dongwo, embedding him into the ceiling. Dongwo sighs, asking, "How many times is this going to happen? Ever since I reincarnated, it's been one disappointment after another." Realizing Dongwo's strength, the demons ready themselves for a fight, declaring, "This kid is dangerous." Suddenly, machinery activates, and the demons equip themselves with advanced combat gear resembling Power Rangers in rank B+ armor. One of them yells, "Show him the true danger of this world." 3 demons leap toward Dongwo, shouting that they'll finish him off. Meanwhile, Dongwo, having drunk too much earlier, is getting a little emotional. Dongwo mutters that life has been very hard lately. Every time he gets close to success, he fails. At this moment, he feels truly frustrated and angry. He punches the ground, declaring he's tired of it all. The impact creates a massive shockwave, throwing everyone across the room and shattering their armor. Meanwhile, Dongwo is crying his heart out. The demons are now kneeling, begging for forgiveness and asking to be allowed to leave. One of them confesses that they were forced into this situation and didn't enjoy doing such things. Hearing this, Dongwo demands to know who the powerful people behind this operation are. The demon pinned under his foot reveals that the most powerful person in the Yun Dominion is behind them. He claims that once the general arrives, Dongwo will surely be dead. Dongwo wonders who this leader could be. Suddenly, an immense energy starts emanating from the door. The demon under his foot begins to celebrate, shouting, "The general is here. You're finished." Dongwo turns around to see a figure standing at the door asking, "Are you the one causing all this trouble?" The leader of the group steps forward. Dongwo squints and quips, "Why does it look like Duko's chubby cousin is leading these idiots?" A servant yells at Dongwo to hold his tongue and show respect, asking if he doesn't know who he's speaking to. The leader introduces himself as Dupang, confirming that he is, in fact, Duko's brother. Dupang scolds his subordinates, saying, "You useless fools. Letting my name slip like that was unacceptable." The servant grovels, insisting he would never intentionally reveal such information, but Dupang dismisses him, muttering about incompetence. He then approaches Dongwo, declaring that he knows too much and must die. Dongwo, unfazed, remarks that Dupang looks strong and that he's excited to see what he's capable of. With a smirk, he tells Dupang, "I'll give you 10 minutes to try to kill me. If you can't, I won't be so merciful." The surrounding demons are confused by Dongwo's boldness, and Dupang scowls, questioning what nonsense. Is this about 10 minutes? Preparing his fist, he boasts that he'll have Dongwo's head on the ground in 1 second. The servant cheers, claiming this is the general's strongest attack. Dupang pulls back his fist and lands a full-force punch on Dongwo, dealing 500 damage. But within seconds, Dongwo heals 800 HP from his passive regeneration. Dupang is baffled as Dongwo stands there with a full health bar, grinning. That didn't seem to work. Dongwo teases, "Maybe try a special move." Furious, Dupang mutters that he didn't expect this loser to have any abilities. Dongwo encourages him to stop wasting time, reminding him that the 10 minutes are ticking. Dupang, now enraged, launches into a combo of punches, landing 8 consecutive hits on Dongwo's face. The boy's body is briefly knocked to the ground, but his health bar remains intact. Exhausted, Dupang pauses, trying to catch his breath. Dongwo, lying on the floor, looks up and sarcastically asks, "Why'd you stop? Getting tired already?" His taunts infuriate Dupang further, and the general leaps into the air, preparing a meteor strike. The attack hits Dongwo directly, but it activates his counterattack passive ability. With a massive shockwave, Dupang is sent flying, taking 2,800 damage to the face. Staggering back, he stares at Dongwo in disbelief, trying to comprehend what's happening. The servant finally realizes who Dongwo is, whispering that it's the pervert who caused trouble at the castle. He went to the ancestral cavern. How is he alive? Dupang wipes his face and sneers, declaring he now remembers Dongwo. "You're nothing but a filthy demon who only got this far by relying on women. I, on the other hand, am an *** A-class demon with 2 demon hearts, the future commander of this clan." As Dupang boasts, a set of A-class equipment descends from above, equipping Dongwo automatically. The boy cheers, now powered up, and taunts Dupang to come at him again. Dupang raises his hand to the sky, summoning his strength and charges at Dongwo. His punches land repeatedly, dealing 40 to 50 damage per hit. However, the damage numbers are far too low compared to Dongwo's passive regeneration. Then, as Dongwo's passive counterattacks activate multiple times, Dupang is curled across the room, taking 3,000, 2,000, and 10,000 damage. His HP bar rapidly depletes until a final hit of 8,400 leaves him nearly defeated. Falling to the ground, the servant cries out for the general, who collapses like a sack of potatoes. Dupang's own survival passive activates, sparing his life once, but he's left disoriented. Struggling to his feet, Dupang demands, "Why are you still standing there with a full health bar?" Dongwo smirks in reply, "Because your 10 minutes are up." "Is that all you've got?" Dupang drops to his knees, pleading for forgiveness. "Please don't hurt me," he begs. "I'll give you anything you want," Dongwo calmly states. "The only thing I want is someone who can kill me." Dupang looks at him in horror, whispering, "That's impossible. No one deserves something like that. Who are you?" Before Dongwo can answer, someone at the doorway calls out for the general. It's Dukao, who steps in and coldly observes the scene. The servant begs Dukao to save his brother, but Dukao replies, he brought this upon himself. If Dongwo wants to kill him, so be it. Dukao apologizes, saying it was his mistake for letting this situation escalate. Dongwo dismisses him, replying, Whatever, I don't even care about that chubby guy's life, as he kicks a pebble and mutters about how weak everyone is. But suddenly, he stops remembering something. Turning around, he asks Dupang, "Did you really say you'd give me anything I want?" He approaches, narrowing his eyes, and asks if it's true that Dupang has 2 demon hearts. Dupang, panicked, denies it, calling it absurd and claiming he'd never have such a thing. The scene shifts to a hospital, where Dupang is stretched out on a gurney, begging his brother Dukao for help. But the doctors prepare the anesthesia, reassuring him, "Don't worry, with 2 hearts, you won't miss one." Outside the hospital, Tanjio thanks Dongwo profusely, saying that without him, her mother would have died. But Dongwo is distracted, impatiently asking when his wish will come true, and wondering what Howlin is doing at this moment. Meanwhile, Dukao is discussing with his subordinate about the energy reserves of the Demon Kingdom. Dukao emphasizes the importance of this energy. It's the only way the young Dominion can defend itself against the humans who are already advancing. The scene cuts to a fleet of spaceships soaring over a base. A blonde commander raises his hand, ordering the troops to prepare. In another part of the base, someone behind a curtain mentions they're doing this for Xiao Feng. Dongwo, still lamenting his fate, suddenly recalls why he misses that girl so much. She had potential, and it seems she genuinely liked him. Xiao Feng is muttering that although Dongwo's body isn't with her, she feels certain they'll meet again soon. Dongwo, however, cynically imagines that she's probably already with another guy raising 5 kids, while he's destined to be a loser. At that moment, a group of bandits ambushes him, causing 100 damage. Dongwo screams at them, "Didn't you eat properly? Just cut my head off already." The bandits, confused, mutter about what kind of lunatic they're dealing with. Meanwhile, Dongwo, disheartened, wonders why no one can manage to kill him. Suddenly, Dongwo wakes up, shouting for someone to kill him. He shakes his head, muttering that he's been dreaming too much lately. Meyer enters, welcoming him back and informing him that Her Majesty has called an emergency military meeting. Dongwo Sogruggi follows her as the scene shifts to the meeting. Bingbi informs the generals that an immense human army is approaching their city. The attack will arrive sooner than expected and consists of over 10,000 soldiers. She explains that this is why she summoned the most important generals of Yun to discuss strategy. The last time they faced a battle of this scale was 10 years ago, and they barely survived. Han recalls how they managed to survive that attack by employing guerrilla tactics and assassinating the human leader. That was the only reason the Yun Dominion still exists. However, he reminds everyone that the previous attack involved 5,000 soldiers, and the demons barely made it out alive. Now, they're up against double that number. While the strength of the demons hasn't grown, they must somehow endure. Their only option is to buy time until reinforcements can arrive. Turning to Dongwo, Huan asks for his opinion on this matter. Dongwo, however, is only half listening, his mind racing. He calculates that if 1,000 soldiers could deal 100 damage per minute, he might finally take more damage than his passive can heal. In other words, being surrounded by this massive army might finally allow him to die. He pounds the table, declaring, "What an excellent opportunity." Rising from his chair, he insists they take the fight to the humans, meeting them face to face outside the city walls. The room falls silent, stunned by his suggestion. Even Huan slams the table, accusing Dongwo of recklessness. This is a life or death moment for the Yun Dominion. How can you speak so carelessly? Dongwo retorts that if they barely survived against 5,000 soldiers, it's ridiculous to think the same strategy will work against a double force. "The worst thing we can do is sit here waiting for reinforcements," he says. "What will you do when, in a few years, they return with 20,000 soldiers? Who will you trust with the kingdom's future then?" He challenges the room, asking, "Why doesn't anyone here have the courage to take control of their own future? And what's this nonsense about the demons not growing stronger? Have you all forgotten who I am? I am the greatest enhancement to our military strength." Bingyi, visibly emotional, listens intently as murmurs spread among the generals, commenting that this is the first time they're hearing a true demon king speak. But Huan interrupts, accusing Dongwo of recklessly sending thousands of demons to their deaths. He adds that Dongwo has never been on a battlefield and has no idea how cruel it is. Dongwo counters, questioning whether Huan really believes victory will come without risk. He mocks the idea of relying on outdated guerrilla tactics and calls out Huan's defeatist mindset. "Do you really think you can win with that attitude?" he asks. "How can any soldier forget the most important thing on the battlefield, the spirit of victory?" To prove his commitment, Dongwo makes a bold declaration. "If we lose this battle, you have my permission to execute me publicly in front of everyone." The old man is visibly emotional, while the others simply stare in stunned silence. Wuzhen, however, smiles, commenting he really knows how to inspire people. Bingyi stands, declaring, "I understand now. In this war, General Dongwo will receive all our troops and have full command. Instead of standing idle, We will open the gates and meet the enemy head-on. Sometime later, in military camp inside one of the tents, Huan addresses his subordinates. He reminds them of the countless battles they fought against the human army. But this time, the humans aren't just more numerous, they're also far stronger. He admits they don't stand a chance of winning and refuses to let the soldiers who have followed him for decades throw their lives away. Taking a moment to gather his thoughts, he raises his voice, commanding his officers, "When we're called to the battlefield, this time stay in the city. Do not follow Dongwo's orders. If Her Majesty blames anyone, I will take full responsibility." A few days later, the 21st Legion of the Sacred Territory reaches the Yun Dominion. Through binoculars, a human officer observes the city and remarks, "The fall of Yun City is finally upon us." Turning to his subordinate, he orders them to begin the directive is clear. No demon is to be spared this time. Missiles are fired at the city walls. Guards on the ramparts spot them and begin casting electrical magic to intercept the projectiles. For a moment, it looks like the missiles are exploding harmlessly mid-air. However, they continue advancing through the magical defenses. One of the demon guards is obliterated almost immediately. Meanwhile, Dongwo watches from the wall, grinning. "They finally arrived," he says. From within the smoke, a horde of robots begins marching toward the city. As the attack commences, Huan approaches Dongwo. Turning to his men, Huan reminds them of the plan they discussed. However, even those officers seem unsure, uncertain which general they should follow. Dongwo notices the hesitation and shouts, commanding everyone to stay within the city walls. His voice carries authority, and his words leave everyone wide-eyed in confusion. "This battle," Dongwo declares, "belongs solely to the king." Without hesitation, he leaps off the wall, landing directly in front of the advancing human army. The human soldiers stop, bewildered by the lone demon standing against them. Lu Renjia, a human mage leading the forces, watches from a distance and frowns. "Why did he come alone?" he asks, suspicious. There are still many demons stationed on the walls, so Renjia wonders if this is some kind of trap. Meanwhile, the demon army remains perplexed, unsure why Dongwo gave such a reckless order. Huan, watching from the wall, is convinced Dongwo has lost his mind. "There are tens of thousands of humans out there," he mutters. How does he plan to face them alone? Standing boldly in front of the human army, Dongwo smirks. "I've heard humans are quite strong," he says, beginning to remove his armor piece by piece. "Are you going to attack, or are you all too scared?" The humans remain silent, confused by his audacity. Turning to Lu Renjia, Dongwo taunts, "In the past, I commanded you, didn't I? Don't disappoint me now." Renjia, visibly annoyed, scowls. Dongwo knows Renjia hates being embarrassed and continues his provocations. Turning his back to the army, he adds, "Oh, I have an itch. Anyone care to scratch it?" This proves too much for Renjia, who snaps, shouting, "How dare this bastard mock me? Kill him!" He orders the entire army to attack. Arrows, bullets, and energy blasts rain down on Dongwo. He grins, thrilled that they've begun to attack in earnest. Even Renjia draws his sword, slashing for 150 damage. But Dongwo remains standing, seemingly unaffected by the onslaught. Despite never investing points in defense, his high level grants him a natural resilience that negates most of the attacks. He calculates quickly. To overcome his regeneration, the army would need to deal 1,666 damage per second. They're nowhere near that. Frustrated, Dongwo shouts at the soldiers, "What's wrong with you people? Attack properly already." The human soldiers freeze, unsure of what to make of him. Renjia orders the second unit to join the assault. More robots arrive, including a massive one equipped with a laser cannon. The cannon charges and fires a concentrated beam straight into Dongwo's chest. Dongwo laughs, encouraging them to keep it up. "Come on, hit me harder." From the walls, Huan watches in disbelief. He begins to wonder if Dongwo's confidence wasn't misplaced after all. Could it be that from the very beginning, he truly believed he could win alone? Meanwhile, Dongwo is taking 50 hits per second and finally starts celebrating. Watching his health bar drop, he exclaims, "It's been so long since I've seen this beautiful red color." But then his passive counterattack activates. One of the reflected attacks strikes his soldier directly in the chest, killing him instantly. The soldiers panic, trying to figure out what just happened. An injured officer gasping for breath warns, "This demon isn't normal." Before he can finish his sentence, Dongwo's counterattack triggers again, killing another soldier. Renjia starts to piece things together. Something's wrong. This must be part of his plan, he mutters. He orders the entire army to cease their attack immediately. Renjia recalls a legend legend the general once told him of an SS-ranked demon king, a being with immense resilience who was able to restore the demon race while he lived. According to history, this creature should have died long ago. Renjia stares at Dongwo, baffled. If that demon king is long dead, then who is this guy? Dongwo continues yelling at the soldiers, demanding why they stopped attacking when they have an army of over 10,000 men. However, the soldiers are only muttering among themselves, commenting that his health has already fully recovered. Renjia commands his troops, don't fall for his provocations, something is clearly off when attacking this guy. He then states that their mission was merely to draw out the strongest member of the demon army, and they already achieved that. Everyone retreat, Renjia orders. Minimize the casualties. With that, Dongwo is left standing alone. On the wall, Meyer questions why the humans are retreating. She calls for the Imperial Guard and orders them to advance alongside her. Wuzhen, standing beside her, commands the entire demon army to follow him. Dongwo hears something behind him and turning around, sees the entire demon army charging forward. Renjia, seeing this, mutters in disbelief. Why are those lunatics attacking now when we're trying to retreat? To make matters worse, the humans' abilities are still on cooldown. The demon army advances, shouting that anyone who dares step into their territory must be punished. Meanwhile, Hyun finally admits to himself that he's getting too old. He hadn't realized how dependable Dongwo truly was, someone who truly deserves the title of king. He addresses his troops and declares, "Listen to me. From now on, follow General Dongwo's orders. This time, we'll ensure these insects never return." The soldiers salute, raising their advance. But then someone behind Hyun yells, "This is bad." Hyun turns around and the soldier informs him that the human army has deceived them. This attack was just a distraction. They have already infiltrated the city. Their soldiers stationed at the eastern gate have been completely wiped out, and within the city of Yun, a massacre is underway. The scene shifts to chaos. Humans are stomping on Dongwo's green-haired friend, while the chubby demon has already been beheaded. Shocked, Hyun asks, "How is this possible?" The humans are carrying the chubby demon's severed head through the streets. One of invaders marches toward the castle, declaring that demons are useless. Inside the city, only Wei Ming and Bingi remain standing. Bingi remarks, "This human is incredibly strong." Wei Ming urges her to flee, while he tries to buy some time. The blonde human merely smirks and states, "Your kingdom has already been completely destroyed. Now, it's time to play." Suddenly, a fireball comes flying from behind and strikes the humans dead on. Calmly, the blonde man turns around as his comrades desperately try to use potions to "It's Hyun," who has arrived and declares, "You're all despicable." The blonde man grins. "Finally, a demon who looks decent," he says. Standing up, he stretches and remarks, "Time for some exercise." The demons quickly notice a purple aura surrounding him, realizing that compared to the other humans, this one is incredibly powerful. Hyun knows you must end this quickly. A lightning bolt descends from the heavens, striking the blonde man's head. In an instant, the man transforms into a dragon. This is Berserker mode, a state that increases power by 130% and health by 500%. Elsewhere in the city, the battle rages on. Dongwu sits despondent. All he wanted was for someone to attack him and finally end his life. Ever since reincarnating into this body, it feels like all he gets are hacks and overpowered abilities. No matter how hard he tries, dying seems impossible. Laughing and crying at the same time, Dongwu looks up at the sky and yells, "What do you want from me? Do you really want me to become the Demon King?" At that moment, a lightning bolt crashes down from the sky, striking Hyun. Dongwu rushes to the scene, stunned to find everyone dead. He asks himself why demons and humans are fighting in the middle of the city. Then he hears a voice begging for someone to spare his daughter. Looking to the side, Dongwu sees a soldier taunting a man, saying they'll take his daughter, and there's nothing he can do to stop them. One of the soldiers wearing a hat mocks the father, telling him they're going to have a lot of fun with his daughter. The father, lying on the ground, screams for them to let her go. In response, one of the soldiers stabs the man's hand and sneers. In the end, the victor becomes king. But before he can finish, he's kicked in the face and dragged across the ground. Dongwu watches, realizing something is deeply wrong. The soldier in the hat notices him and mutters, "Why is there still a demon alive?" They drop the girl and charge toward Dongwu, shouting that they need to finish him off. As they approach, Dongwu reflects that war is a cruel place, where the victors take everything. However, he's already forbidden humanity from engaging in this kind of behavior. He delivers a devastating punch to one of the soldiers, sending him crashing to the ground, nearly dead. Dongwu pins him by the neck, and the man, gasping, wonders how he lost all his HP from a single punch. "What kind of nonsense is this naked demon?" he whispers. Dongwu demands what legion and squad you belong to. The soldier reveals that they are from the 21st Legion, 511th Squad. Dongwu freezes in shock. That was his old legion. The other soldiers start running, shouting that this demon is weird. Dongwoo, still trying to understand what's happening, glances to the side and sees one soldier dead, while another is being finished off on the ground. Surveying the destruction around him, Dongwoo mutters, "I've been here before." Explosions continue to rock the city, with bombs obliterating buildings left and right. The situation in Yun is starting to make sense to him. Suddenly, he hears someone say, "Mom was tortured to death." A father tries to calm his daughter, saying, "At least we still have each other." From above, lightning continues to strike, illuminating the chaos below. Dongwoo stands in the rain, watching as the dragon descends. At that moment, his memories begin to return. 6 years ago, he had led an attack on a kingdom called Yun, and the last creature he defeated was this very demon dragon. The problem was that the victory had been so easy, he'd nearly forgotten all about it. Now Dongwoo recalls the system and the words it had spoken about reincarnation. It wasn't just that he had been revived. He had been sent back 6 years into the past. This revelation leads him to question, who is leading this army? What happened? And where is his original body? In the skies, Jin Mei, the beloved princess of the healthy humans, observes the unfolding chaos. She remarks that the hatred between the races is flaring up again, noting that Dongwoo was always the only one who stood apart. She reflects that war is only necessary when it's for protection, but humanity had been using it to spread unparalleled brutality throughout the world. Meanwhile, Dongwoo continues walking through the ruins of the city, trying to make sense of it all. As far as he remembers, the 511th Squad had strong convictions and discipline. When they defeated the demon dragon, they had even liberated the other demons. Elsewhere in the city, a man steps on Tang Xiao. She cries out for her mother, who tells her not to worry and urges her to run away. But then a blue flame ignites within Tang Xiao, and she seems to lose consciousness. Bao Lai, one of the captains of the 511th Squad, observes this with amusement, commenting on how much charm this demon woman possesses. Witnessing this, Dongwoo declares that something truly unforgivable has just occurred. The scene shifts to a door. Inside, people are celebrating, saying that the lady of the house has given birth to a healthy boy. Huan opens the door and asks where his son is. While the demons outside remark that they've never seen him so happy, Huan picks up what appears to be the baby, cradling him gently. He promises to take care of the child so that he will grow up strong and protect the kingdom of Yun. Back in the present, a golden lightning bolt cuts through the skies, striking the dragon. Despite this, Huan defiantly declares that he will never allow scum like them to destroy the kingdom of Yun. A human warrior opposing him, however, seems unfazed. Calmly, he remarks, "For a dragon, you have quite the long health bar, but it's time to end this." He leaps forward to Huan, delivering a direct attack to the dragon's head. Golden slashes carve through the air, and it becomes clear that Huan cannot withstand this assault. The human lands with a confident swagger, one hand still in his pocket. Huan reverts from his dragon form, realizing that this human had been toying with him from the start. With his current strength, no one here could stand a chance against him. The human warrior coldly remarks that he still isn't satisfied. Raising his sword, he prepares to finish Huan. But just as he strikes, someone blocks the attack. Confused, the human looks up as the demons glance behind them in shock. At first, Damo appears to have intervened, but no, it's Woojin, who has arrived to protect his father. Woojin declares that he is here to kill this intruder. Huan, however, scolds Woojin, telling him to stop being foolish and understand that he doesn't stand a chance against this opponent. But Woojin responds, asking, "Is that really all you think of me? Do I truly mean so little to you?" Woojin recalls a moment from his past when a demon asked him who he admired most. His answer was immediate: the general who led the armies into battle. That man was number one. He also remembers showing his father a report card, proudly stating that he had achieved the highest score in military aptitude. But Huan, seemingly uninterested, simply said, "I see," and dismissed it. Feeling disheartened, Woojin left the room. Later, as a young man, he returned to his father and announced that he had ranked first in the army's entrance exams. But again, Huan merely replied, "I went through the same thing when I was young," showing little enthusiasm. Once more, Woojin left feeling crushed. Years later, Woojin achieved the rank of lieutenant general and told his father about it. Yet Huan still seemed indifferent, prompting Woojin to shout, "Will I never earn your approval?" Back in the present, the human warrior looks impressed. As Woojin steps forward, Huan urgently tells him to retreat, warning that this is no ordinary opponent. But Woojin declares that it doesn't matter who he's facing, either God, demon, or Buddha. Anyone who sets foot on their territory must be executed. Huan tries once more to stop his son, thinking to himself that Woojin doesn't yet understand how powerful humans can be. Woojin, however, ignores him. He charges forward, shattering the human's sword and swiftly cutting striking down 2 soldiers. The human warrior, now visibly shaken, watches as his armor status displays broken. Wei Ming, observing from a distance, is stunned that Wu Jin eliminated 2 opponents with a single attack. Wu Jin remains silent, his presence commanding attention. The human warrior steels himself, remarking that this demon is unlike any other. He's right. Wu Jin takes to the air, an aura of power radiating from him. The human appears nervous as Wu Jin prepares an attack, green energy glowing in his hand. But it's not just an attack, it's a transformation. Wu Jin morphs into a massive purple dragon. Huan, watching in disbelief, wonders when this happened. When had his son surpassed him? A memory surfaces. After Wu Jin left the room with his report card, Huan had taken a moment to look at it. Seeing the perfect scores, he smiled, murmuring that he expected nothing less from his son. But when Wu Jin returned to retrieve the card, Huan quickly hid his pride, adopting his usual stoic demeanor. All Huan ever wanted was for his son to live a peaceful, ordinary life. He couldn't understand why Wu Jin was so fixated on joining the military. Later, when a subordinate informed Huan that Wu Jin had ranked first in the military exams, Huan was overjoyed, saying he always knew his son would achieve great success. The problem was that all of this went against Huan's plans. His servant had noticed that every time the name Wu Jin came up, it became harder to understand the general's feelings. Then see Huan sitting under a tree, beside a gravestone, lost in thought. It was his wife's grave. He wondered why he had fallen in love with someone so connected to the dangerous path of a soldier, yet it was undeniable. His son was a genius. In the past, while Huan led battles on the front lines, his wife handled everything at home, but she had left too soon, and now he didn't know how to deal with Wu Jin. From the beginning, his plan had been for his son to live an ordinary life, one of safety and peace. Back in the present, Huan realizes he was wrong. Wu Jin unleashes the dragon's breath. The human warrior attempts to shield himself, but the laser blasts straight at him, triggering a massive explosion. Wu Jin hovers silently in the air, observing. But as the smoke clears, the human stands unharmed, laughing. Finally, he exclaims, "A demon willing to give me a real challenge." The human steps forward, declaring, "Now let's put on a real show." Tossing his blade behind him, he taunts that the fun is just beginning. Huan, however, looks terrified. He had seen diagrams of that weapon before. It was no ordinary sword. Wu Jin, unshaken, simply motions for the human to come at him. But suddenly, Huan throws himself in front of the human, trying to warn Wu Jin about the sword. However, the human doesn't wait. He strikes. Wu Jin freezes as everything behind him suddenly disappears. Huan knew it. This was the blade that could cut through anything. The entire castle begins to collapse, and a deep gash appears on Wu Jin's arm. Bing Yi and the elder nearby call out his name in alarm. Huan steps forward and admits, "I've been wrong this whole time. I should have said it long ago. You are my greatest pride." Wu Jin, tears streaming down his face, watches as his father's arm falls to the ground. Huan had been wounded, but he smiles through the pain, telling Wu Jin that he is certain his son will become an exceptional warrior, perhaps the strongest general the demons will ever know. That's why. Huan says Wu Jin must survive. The human standing before them wields the Abyss Blade, a weapon capable of killing even an SS rank being. Even if the entire Yun Kingdom united, they wouldn't stand a chance against this foe. Huan knows he has only one option left, his trump card, a secret he has kept for decades. To protect the kingdom of Yun, he would use absolute defense. Wu Jin recognizes this ability immediately and pleads with his father to stop. "Why are you sacrificing yourself like this?" he asks. But Huan activates the Wall of Life. This ability burns the user's own life force to create an indestructible barrier of flames. It boosts his defenses by 10,000 points. As the ability activates, Huan recalls holding a young Wu Jin in his arms, telling him he needed to grow up strong and healthy. To make that possible, Huan was willing to lay down his life to protect the entire kingdom of Yun. Suddenly, Wei Ming runs forward, grabbing Huan by the arm and urging him to retreat. But the human warrior laughs at their desperation. "You're joking, right? Trying to run away like this? That's just insulting," he sneers. "I'm not satisfied with this performance yet," the human says. "I want to see everyone's despair." But then a voice calls out from behind him, telling him not to rush. "We can't let this guy die so easily," the voice says. It's Lao Tai who steps forward, claiming that the demons have been protecting a demon core this whole time. Now he offers it to the humans in hopes of joining their army. A lightning bolt strikes the ground, and the human leader turns to Lao Tai, asking if this is true. Pointing the sword at Lao Tai's head, he demands, "Why should I trust you?" Lao Tai explains that the Qian clan has been guarding the demon core for generations. Even his ancient ancestors served the first demon king. Every demon king, Lao Tai continues, has 3 generals by their side. One skilled in magic and governance, one proficient in combat, and one a master of military strategy, but Lao Tai adds, "Our clan never relied on such skills to maintain our position. All we needed was the demon core. The core," he explains, "is an artifact that contains the spiritual energy of the entire demon race. Only the blood of his ancestor could unlock its power, and only his clan could bless someone with its strength." The human leader admits he has heard of the demon core and acknowledges its immense power, but he asks, "Why have you given this to me? Do you think I'm an idiot?" Suddenly, Lao Tai's expression changes. He bows his head, apologizing. "I'm too weak," he admits. "All I want is to keep living." The cube-shaped core rolls across the ground as Lao Tai confesses that he has no potential. If he tried to use the core himself, he would die. Furthermore, the status of his family within the demon race has been declining, and that's why he seeks a new place among the humans. Mingdi steps forward, shouting at her uncle, "Have you gone insane? That man has slaughtered countless of our people." She points to the human leader, reminding Lao Tai that this very man beheaded his brother. The blonde human glances at the severed head nearby and nonchalantly kicks it toward Lao Tai. The head lands at his feet. Smirking, Lao Tai remarks, "That fool deserved it. Who told him to provoke someone stronger than him?" Understanding the difference in power is the foundation of nature. Humans or demons, it doesn't matter. Turning to the human leader, Lao Tai asks, "And you agree?" The human laughs, amused by the betrayal. "Interesting," he says. "You really trusted me with something so important. Since you're so eager, I'll accept it." But then, Lao Tai's expression shifts again. He covers his mouth, muttering something under his breath. "Prepare yourselves," he warns. "Protect the demon lord." Suddenly, Wai Ming sneaks up behind Huan and activates a life core destruction ability. Bingi looks confused as a green circle forms around them. Lao Tai then activates the demonic core, spilling blood over it. The core begins to open while the clueless fool asks what's happening. The demon smiles, saying his clan had been waiting for this moment for generations. This was something only he could do. For years, they had been receiving blessings from the demon race without a way to repay them. Man, the place is exploding. Everything starts to get swept away, but luckily, everyone is inside the dual barrier within the main barrier. The energy continues sweeping through the city, disintegrating all the soldiers. From a distance, Meyer asks what's going on. In the skies once again, a golden lightning bolt appears as rain pours down. It strikes the ground as the smoke clears. Man, Lao Tai is all burned up. He says, unfortunately, he used up all the power he had, but that was just 1% of the demonic core. While Jin helps his father, Lao Tai falls to the ground, saying he feels frustrated. The class's dragon, Gaeta, had been summoned using its absolute defense ability to block all damage for 30 seconds. It lets out a roar, and the human remains unscathed, saying they had made the wrong choice. Using the mat trump card without knowing the cards he had hidden was foolish. He then walks toward the fallen Lao Tai, who's clutching the cube. As he tries to grab it, a lightning bolt strikes, severing his hand. The blonde man asks if he's ready to face the consequences. Holding the cube, he says he never expected to find something like this in such an insignificant place. No wonder it was the birthplace of the Demon King. He tucks the cube into his shirt and says it's time to get back on track. Looking back, he tells the others to finish the job, but the dragon hesitates. The human asks if it doesn't want to kill its own kind. Suddenly, a strange robot attached to its neck sinks its claws in. The monster begins writhing in pain and suddenly changes expression. It charges at Wai Ming, who prepares a shield. He orders everyone to protect the girl, but she says they should worry about saving themselves. The blonde man stands still and says, "Dealing with demons is always like this." He vanishes in a blur and strikes Wai Ming, saying dealing with humans is always irritating. His hand was embedded in the old man when suddenly, Huo Wen appears beside him. He tries to throw a punch, but another man grabs his arm, activating the Eye of Judgment. This ability lets him understand his opponent's attributes after battling them. Huo Wen had about 1,400 strength and 1,500 vitality. The blonde man remarks that these two highest attributes must be what Huo Wen is most proud of. What a pity, as they were far too low, and he was going to destroy them. He twists Huo Wen's arm, contorting him. As he slams the poor guy to the ground, a green piddle appears in front of them. Wu Jin emerges from it, ready to attack, but the blonde man seems calm, vanishing just in time and reappearing behind Wu Jin, analyzing again. Wu Jin, on the other hand, had 2,700 in attributes. The blonde man says it's impressive. Wu Jin had the potential to become a demon king, but it was a pity he'd die here. Yet it was undeniable that having over 2,000 speed was remarkable. In a second, he appears in front of Wu Jin, saying he must be the fastest demon in the area. He delivers a hard kick, sending Wu Jin flying. Man, another one bleeding out. He steps on Wu Jin's leg, saying it's time to strip away the speed he's so proud of. Wu Jin rises in pain as the blonde man asks why an ant thinks it can topple a tree. It didn't matter. No one here had attributes high enough to face him. Lightning begins striking the ground as everyone watches. A mass of shadows starts to emerge. This was an S-rank ability that allowed him to create copies of himself as long as he had enough energy. Slowly, Whamming starts getting up. A hand grabs Binji by the mouth, and the man says he's always wondered, are demons really so weak, or why do they even exist? It was then that he began to understand. Man, why? He killed the kitten, for crying out loud. Oh no, someone has to kill this guy. Now's the time for our protagonist to show up and kill this son of a... The bastard says he now understands the value of their existence. Demons existed solely for his amusement. He lets her fall to the ground. Binji, utterly broken yet strong, says there's no more hope. Man, she even takes another kick to the face. At that moment, Huan stands up, saying this time they had lost, but he alone would face death head-on. The human praises him, saying that even at the end, the kingdom's protector had such integrity. However, ending things like this would be less fun. He nods and Huan hears a scream. Turning around, he sees Wu Jin immobilized. The man asks if that isn't his son and says he'll spare Wu Jin's life if Huan kneels. If he does, his son walks free. Wu Jin calls the man a beast, saying his father would never do such a thing. However, the blonde man keeps laughing, saying they should enjoy their one and only chance. Huan hesitates for a second and then falls to his knees, pleading with the man to keep his word. His son just stands there watching. The blonde man then asks Wu Jin if he doesn't want to save his father, offering him the same opportunity. But Wu Jin shouts, telling him to stop playing games with this. The man simply smiles and delivers a blow straight to Huan's chest. As Huan begins to fall, he takes a slash to one arm and to the other. Man, how many cuts is he going to give him? Huan collapses to his knees now, begging for the fight to stop. In the background, Ming Yu watches everything, crying. The blonde man then says that now that both of them are kneeling, he's in a tough spot because he doesn't know which one to kill. That's when Huan locks eyes with him, feels something, and throws himself onto the blade. Wu Jin screams, but his father simply says that with this, choice has been made for him. But the blonde man isn't happy. He asks to give Huan permission to act on his own like that. He pulls the sword out, saying Huan broke the rules, and because of that, he's abandoning his promise. The game is about to restart. Wu Jin lunges toward him, but gets struck in the chest. Ming Yu keeps calling out to him, everyone crying, I just want to know when Dong will show up. It's been 10 chapters since he disappeared. The blonde man then starts pulling a chain from the ground. Suddenly, everyone's hands are bound and are lifted into the air. Man, look at what this guy's done in the past. Someone please kill this guy already. Wu Jin gets struck in the stomach. The man says he's avoiding all vital points to ensure they'll endure as much pain as possible. He then calls for the dragon to approach. Placing the sword on his shoulder, he declares it's time for the final celebration. He orders someone to summon Vice Commander Bao Li, saying Bao Li must be tired of playing by now. But the person on the other end of the line responds, saying he's gotten quite bold. The blonde man asks who's speaking and where Bao Li is. Someone behind him shouts that Bao Li is right there. He turns around and Dong Hua has finally arrived with his rank as Team of 7. Dong Hua says he's seen enough of this situation. He didn't expect the man to stoop so low in his quest for power. Dong Hua blames himself for letting things get this bad for the people. But this was something he should have known. A beast will always be a beast. For all the crimes the man has committed, he deserves to be executed slowly. The blonde man scoffs, calling Dong Hua another piece of trash. He disappears from the dragon's side, saying he'll finish this quickly, and is already in front of Dong Hua, smiling. But then he takes a punch to the face so hard it breaks his glasses, unable to even calculate the force. Dong Hua slams him against the wall while the blonde man struggles to understand what just happened. Dong Hua says he doesn't even know where to begin. The man had rebelled against the army's rules, abused the women of this city, and murdered his comrades. But Dong Hua would ensure he paid for every one of his crimes. Confused, the blonde man asks what he's talking about. Behind him, Bao Li is crawling, saying there's something very wrong with this demon. Since the first moment they met, this demon seemed far too concerned with human affairs. The story flashes back to now long ago in Yun City, destroyed by war. Bao Li tells the ice puppet not to kill the little girl, but first, he intended to enjoy the charming woman. Xian Xiao was just watching her mother. The man licked his lips and asked if it wasn't a problem for the daughter to see this, but then suddenly, there was an impact, and shards of ice flew toward him. Dong Hua had destroyed one of the puppets. The man demanded to know why so many low-level demons were interfering with his plans. He cast a spell, summoning a high-ranking puppet in front of him. The man said this creature shared half his blood and half his power. But before he could finish speaking, Dong Hua had already charged and punched through it. There wasn't even time for the man to be shocked, because a slap had already landed on his face. By killing another enemy of the human realm, Donghua gained 500,000 experience points. Additionally, he acquired a copying ability that allowed him to replace one of his skills with one from someone he killed. Donghua then tells the man it's time to come clean. He wants to know what happened to his army. After much pressure, Bao Li reveals the truth. The former army captain was named Xi Feng Liao. They used a banquet as an opportunity to execute their plan. The plan involved using the vice captain to kill Xi Feng Liao, but even after torturing the man, he refused to betray the captain. When others arrived to witness the scene, the vice captain only said Xi Feng Liao was there. He flew with a dagger as soon as they approached. He barely managed to save Huan, but this event painted him as a traitor to the army. With that, they launched an attack to depose him. With most of the army on their side, it was extremely easy. It was also during this time that they acquired that sword. With his father's influence, Xin Zhibiao became the supreme commander. Back in the present, Bao Li questions why the boy is so interested in all this. Dongwu simply asks why no one resisted or questioned anything. Bao Li explains that they already knew who might resist, and those individuals were sacrificed before anything started. It was the fault of those who were too loyal to the former Feng Xiao. He then says he's told Dongwu everything he knows and demands to be put down. But instead, Dongwu lands a punch straight to his groin. Dongwu tells him to stay quiet as a girl approaches, calling his name. She's brought the armor he had given to Wai Ming, explaining that Wai Ming wanted Dongwu to use it to take the king as far as possible. She adds that she received a strange message and that they seem to have encountered some trouble. Dongwu equips the full armor set, uses an ability to make it appear like regular clothes, and starts carrying Bao Li. The demoness tries to warn him that the situation is very dangerous, but he tells her to just take him to Xin Zhibiao. Back in the present, Dongwu slams the ground with a punch. Bao Li still can't understand why Dongwu is so interested in humans. Meanwhile, Xin Zhibiao begins activating his golden lightning, equipping some gear and analysis glasses. The glasses reveal that Dongwu has over 4,100 strength. However, Xin Zhibiao remains confident, saying that aside from strength, the rest of Dongwu's attributes are garbage. In terms of speed, Dongwu has less than half his own. Xin Zhibiao launches another attack with his horns, confident that Dongwu only dodge lasts high my sheer luck. But luck doesn't last forever. Just as the clone is about to land its hit, Dongwu vanishes and punches one of them in the face, sending it flying. Zhibiao can't comprehend how Dongwu is faster with lower attributes. Obviously, the real Zhibiao is hiding behind the dragon, confident that based on what he's seen with the glasses, it's impossible for Dongwu to win. The issue is that the clones theoretically share attributes very close to his. Not to mention, Dongwu's opportunity attributes seem to be 0. Something was clearly off. We then see Zhibiao's stats. Over 5,400 strength made possible, of course, by the sword he's carrying. With his extra speed, it should be impossible for him to lose. The plan is to attack one more time to figure out what's going on. He prepares a stealthy strike, but ends up taking another punch to the face. While the clone gets beaten, Zhibiao wonders what Dongwu is hiding. Dongwu remarks that Zhibiao seems overly confident for someone so weak. The reason Zhibiao can't figure it out is that Dongwu has the title of Demon King. All of his attributes are tripled, but can't be detected. Still, Zhibiao unleashes another sequence of lightning bolts, refusing to believe it. But Dongwu keeps dodging, landing a punch to the ribs, a kick to the stomach, and another heavy punch to the face. The fool falls to the ground and Dongwu glances to the side. Zhibiao stops and mutters that Dongwu can't possibly be this fast, but Dongwu is already behind him, slamming him into the ground. Realizing he can't win in a direct fight, Zhibiao threatens Dongwu, saying he has his chief's life in his hands. If Dongwu isn't careful, she'll die at any moment. Wu Jin, standing nearby, asks if that's his solution when he can't beat his enemy. Zhibiao ignores him, wrapping a chain around her neck, but Dongwu walks forward calmly, saying the tactic is outdated. Zhibiao shouts that if Dongwu takes another step, everyone there will die. He tightens the chain, choking Wu Jin and everyone else bound. Turning to Dongwu, Zhibiao asks if he isn't supposed to be a capable demon. He pulls the chain tighter, declaring that in the end, Dongwu is just a person. Even if Dongwu saves one of them, he'll kill the other. The choice is his. Dongwu clenches his fists and rushes toward him. Zhibiao is startled that Dongwu is really coming at him. Wu Jin tells Dongwu to save the demon lord. Dongwu keeps advancing and shoves his fingers into the clone's face, sending it crashing to the ground like trash. Wu Jin asks why Dongwu saved him instead of Bing Yi, but Dongwu tells him to take another look, explaining that he wasn't going to save just one. He had stolen Bao Li's puppet creation ability and used it to save her. He then commands the golem to protect everyone there. They start freeing everyone while Bao Li stammers, asking how this is possible. That was his ability. When did Dongwu learn it? As far as Bao Li knew, it was completely unique. Suddenly, one of Zhibiao's clones attacks the puppet from behind, but the puppet effortlessly lands a punch, sending it crashing to the ground. It's revealed that this is how Dongwu defeated Bao Li and decided to copy his ability. Zhibiao realizes that Dongwu having this skill is entirely his fault. Strangely, this ability came from the Demon Cavern. While powerful, it has two weaknesses. First, it requires water nearby to activate. Second, creating the golem consumes a significant amount of blood. If the golem is as strong as Dongwu, he must have used nearly all of his blood. This means the real Dongwu is currently weak. Zhibiao yells for the captain to ignore the golems and attack the original body. He believes Dongwu's bluffing and one hit could end everything. Dongwu stands still silent. Once again, the attack comes from behind. The blow seems to land perfectly and Zhibiao even celebrates, declaring he's finally won, but Dongwu simply tells him to keep going. Confused, Zhibiao looks back and asks how Dongwu is still alive when he was on the brink of death. Before Dongwu can respond, Zhibiao launches another attack. Each strike, however, only deals between 100 and 300 damage. Dongwu merely asks if this is the best Zhibiao can do. Once again, Zhibiao activates his analysis ability. That's when he notices that Dongwu's health bar is still full. Worse yet, the health and status bars are the least of his concerns. What's truly strange is that this boy has an entirely different aura. Dongwu pulls out a massive blue sword and asks if Zhibiao has already used all his attacks. Zhibiao begins to panic, realizing that if he doesn't find a solution, he might actually die today. Suddenly, as the dragon stomps on the ground, it shoots upward like lightning. Zhibiao seems to find solace, thanking the heavens for being on his side. With enough lightning in the skies, he could continue creating infinite clones. But Dongwu activates the Blood Ice Golem ability again, announcing that he'll leave those clones to the golems. The golems keep an eye on the battered group, and it's clear that Kun has lost both his arms. Lying on the ground, Baolai mutters that he should have realized from the moment Dongwu appeared why he was so invested in humans. He wonders how Dongwu knows so much about the army and the captain. Dongwu responds that in a storm, lightning isn't the only element present. He begins summoning more golems, declaring that now he has a continuous water source. Even if Zhibiao believes Dongwu's stats are lower, invoking this legion would prove otherwise. The dragon stands still as the clones battle the army. Zhibiao looks at the creature, asking why it isn't moving. That's when Dongwu suddenly appears beside him, activating a celestial transformation in his hand and delivering another punch to Zhibiao's face. Dongwu tells him that it's taken long enough, but this war is about to end. Once again, Zhibiao substitutes himself to survive. He has realized that in a direct confrontation, there's no way he can win. However, he's starting to understand the boy's ability. Dongwu has incredibly high regeneration, but every attack causes him to lose blood. Zhibiao's plan is to use his SSS-ranked weapon's energy storage ability. Once it's fully charged, he can cut Dongwu in half with a single strike. All he has to do is keep stalling for as long as possible, but then one of the ice clones sneaks up from behind and stabs him in the chest. Zhibiao writhes in pain, activating his electricity. Apparently, he becomes lightning itself, jumping from one clone to another and escaping. However, the damage had already been dealt to his main body. Amusingly, after taking the hit, Zhibiao claims he can swap places with his clones, so he's not in danger. Sure thing, buddy. It seems like you might be in danger. Baolai, who seems to have an IQ of 16, finally begins to understand the captain's plans. He's confident the captain will win since the golems are limited by time. Zhibiao smirks, saying it doesn't matter what Dongwu does, he will never kill him. That's when Dongwu immobilizes a clone and asks, "Who said I'm trying to kill this guy?" He's made it very clear that this man must pay for his crimes with the slowest death possible. Zhibiao continues to demand his release, remembering how, as a child, he also claimed he didn't want things to die too easily. Dongwu tells him that every clone is still a part of him. This means the pain the clones experience always returns to him. Exhausted, Zhibiao wonders how Dongwu knows this. Dongwu begins listing every crime Zhibiao has committed, stating that none of it would be resolved with a simple death. He crushes a clone's head, causing Zhibiao to writhe in agony. The ice creatures continue tearing apart the rest of the clones. Dongwu slices through another, saying Zhibiao will feel every one of these attacks. He must pay for all the pain he inflicted on others. Lying on the ground, Baolai realizes that the captain's ability is now the biggest problem. Zhibiao is starting to lose his mind from the pain. Yet Zhibiao remains confident, knowing that all he needs to do is finish charging the sword. It's almost ready. Finally, the weapon reaches full charge. He raises it high, declaring that with this strike, the entire demon clan will be erased. The golden light shoots into the sky. We then see a small creature hopping from branch to branch in the forest. It hides behind some grass and looks around. A soldier passes by, asking if anyone has seen the lightning dragon. The creature, perched on a tree, watches them move past. It approaches a younger Dongwu and is startled. The creature tries to attack, but Dongwu simply offers it some food. He tells it that he hates the war between humans and demons as it's causing so many to go hungry. All he wants is for it to end. Back in the present, Zhibiao declares that this is Dongwu's end. This will be the attack that wipes out the entire demon clan. The dragon watches the two of them. Dongwu stretches his hand forward and says, "Return." The blonde man is ready to deliver the final strike. Suddenly, the entire sword disintegrated. It flew through the air and reassembled directly in Dongwu's hand. He said, "Now it's finally back with its rightful owner." The clueless Zhibiao was utterly confused. Everything he had endured was to wield this sword. So what happened? Dongwu simply thanked him for helping recharge the sword. As he approached Zhibiao, he raised the sword, creating a tornado around him. The clones began to evaporate, and a sphere of energy formed around them. The force was so immense that even the skies cleared. From the ground, Bao Lai murmured that he had always known it was him. The dragon looked at Dongwu and said, "Now you're truly back." Man was that little creature from the forest, the same monster now. Look at the resemblance between our boy as a human and as a demon. Zhibiao was still completely baffled by what was happening. Most of the clones started to dissipate, and the black clouds and energy began to fade. Zhibiao found himself on his knees surrounded by all the creatures. The sword stopped beside him, and Dongwu declared that the war was over. We flash back to the Sacred Kingdom 2 years earlier. Someone pointed out asking if they saw the demon fall. A number Dongwu replied saying to bring it back. The names in the descriptions seemed all mixed up, but trust me, it was Dongwu. He asked if she was mad about bringing the demon in her mouth, saying it made her look like a dog. Then he said he knew very well what the demon liked to be called. He patted its back, calling it his best friend. Back in the present, the thunder dragon Gita still had that device around its neck. Zhibiao, beneath it, ordered the dragon to block Dongwu. Dongwu told him to give up. There wasn't any more lightning in this place to recharge. Zhibiao could struggle all he wanted, but there was nowhere left to run. The blonde man, however, was confident knowing the dragon had over 10,000 speed. He believed it was impossible for anyone to catch him. He pressed the button and ordered the dragon to fetch him, threatening to detonate it otherwise. Gita seemed to resist but was visibly crying. It was the first time I'd seen a dragon with tears streaming down its face. Dongwu was furious, realizing those bastards had installed explosives inside it. Zhibiao ran toward the dragon, managing to climb onto its head. Meanwhile, Bao Lai begged to be taken along, but he was of course ignored as the dragon flew off. Zhibiao muttered to himself that it was worth it. In the end, he was still leaving with the magic core. Weiming commented that at this rate, Zhibiao would manage to escape. Wu Ming looked at Dongwu and remarked that something seemed to be on his mind. Dongwu was considering giving up. He thought there was no chance of capturing Zhibiao without risking Gita's life. This left him disheartened until he heard a voice in his head. Someone told him they believed in him. It was the dragon's voice saying it trusted him, so there was no reason for hesitation. Zhibiao struggled to hold on to the dragon, which asked Dongwu if he remembered the game they used to play. Then it lunged to bite Zhibiao, catching him mid-air. With Zhibiao in its mouth, the dragon told Dongwu that it was his turn now. It turned back toward Dongwu, who steeled his expression and prepared the sword. Zhibiao, still in the dragon's mouth, yelled not to blame him. He activated the self-destruct device, declaring that at the very least, he would die there. The self-destruct countdown ticked from 83% to 90%. Dongwu observed as it reached 97%. At 99.5%, he delivered a precise slash, destroying the device around the dragon's neck. The dragon managed to land safely. The demons were still frozen in fear. The full Bao Lai was still trying to comprehend why everything was going so wrong. As the smoke cleared, Zhibiao lay in a pool of blood. Slowly, Dongwu approached. Zhibiao began pleading for mercy. Man, considering he was missing half his body and sparing him wouldn't do much good. The man clawed at the ground, asking why. Why'd he have to be completely destroyed? Dongwu simply narrowed his eyes and said that from the moment Zhibiao betrayed him, he should have known this would happen. Confused, Zhibiao asked what betrayal Dongwu was talking about. They didn't even know each other, but Dongwu chose not to explain. He raised the sword and told Zhibiao that when he saw Yunha, he better kneel and beg for forgiveness. At the last second, Zhibiao recognized him as Shafeng Liao, but it was too late as his face was cut. Now I get it. The man they betrayed and framed in this life was Shafeng Liao. He was the protagonist in his previous life, but now he's in the past. Man, things just got complicated. And worse for Zhibiao, who took a slash for every atrocity he committed. The guy was sliced up like sashimi. I thought Dongwu was going to deliver the final blow, but he kept punishing Zhibiao for more crimes. It's hard to believe Zhibiao isn't dead by now, right? Finally, execution. Dongwu delivered 1 billion more cuts for everything Zhibiao had done. And now it's done. Watching all this, Baolai declared that he was now sure this demon was one of them, and that Shafeng Liao had never been a deserter. So now it's explained they betrayed Shafeng Liao in this life and made him desert. Because of that, Dongwu killed an SO01 class demon. The course of the story had changed, and he gained 2.2 million experience points. But then comes a plot twist. The scene shifts to a girl looking at a guy in a capsule. She says that now things were being completed. She mentioned that the weapon, the equipment, and the dragon had apparently all returned to him. The only thing missing was the woman. Man, she's really eager and the girl is putting in the effort. The scene then shifts to the human base with someone saying they've received a message from the army. Unit 511 had been completely defeated and Zhibiao had sacrificed himself. That old man there is Xin Cheng of the Divine Legion and was Zhibiao's father. Xin Cheng must be the most Chinese name I've ever seen in my life. The old man asks if they found the body and the people say unfortunately not. He then says to prepare a national funeral with an empty coffin. The message was to be sent to everyone that his son had died honorably on the battlefield. He continues fishing while someone behind him is clenching their fists. It's Zunling, Zhibiao's sister, who says that damn Yun Kingdom. She would make sure to kill everyone who lived there. The scene then shifts to a somewhat Arabian city, inside the castle of the Wind Kingdom. A horned guy says that this letter came from the Conference of Alliances and asks His Majesty has chosen the representative. This guy is the king of the Wind Kingdom named Mo Fang. He knows that this Conference of Alliances is just a public humiliation for small nations like his. He then says that his city can barely produce rank of talents, and every time they send people, few return. But the guy completely ignores this and just asks if he has already decided. The man begins to transform, and Mo Fang asks for 2 days to choose the people. Well, man, but he was already killed with the guy saying that now the decision is made. The scene then goes to the Yun Kingdom, and there's someone going to talk to Bingyi. Obviously, there's also someone delivering the so-called letter of the Conference of Alliances. The messenger says they never imagined that the Yun Kingdom would be attacked like this, and they've already sent some support. Bingyi is injured but healthy, saying she appreciates the assistance they will send. The demoness thanks her back, saying she's looking forward to knowing who will be the representatives of the Alliance this year. After all, this is the biggest annual event of the entire demon race. We then see a construction site. Someone extends their power, and man, the whole building is reassembling. It's Tian Xiao working hard, until someone approaches and tells him to rest because the general wants to see him. Man, that's Lao Tai. The guy is alive at least. Well, not entirely. He's got his horns bandaged. He says he didn't expect to see a child helping, but Tian Xiao just says that it's the right thing to do since they also helped his mother. Apparently it's Lao Tai who lost one of his hearts, which ended up in Tian Xiao's mother because of a promise his brother had made. He tells the boy that what he did is right, and there are always good and bad people among humans or demons, but karma doesn't see differences between races. Lao Tai asks to be forgiven, saying he swears never to attack this place again, but too late, friend. You became the dog's meal. Lao Tai apologizes for the false promises his brother made and says there's no reason to care about his death, but Tian Xiao says that's not true. His brother was really scary, but he remembers very well how he acted when the humans invaded the city. The big guy told the kid to run. The heart had already been removed from his body, and he didn't want it to be wasted. The problem was that in the middle of the escape, they encountered the bastard. That's when the big guy told him to take that heart that would be delivered to his mother and disappear from that place. He swore he would stay there to at least buy him some time. That's what Tian Xiao tells Lao Tai. That in his last moments, his brother was a savior. Lao Tai stays silent for a second and then laughs. He then cries, saying he never understood anything. In the end, his brother hadn't changed at all since they were children. On top of the walls, Wei Ming tells Dong Hua that now he is the most powerful person in the Yun Kingdom, and because of that, by the unanimous decision of the 3 generals, the rarest artifact would be given to him that would not only have the capacity to elevate him to rank S, but also grant extraordinary abilities. But Dong Hua tells them to keep it. So much energy would be much better spent rebuilding this entire kingdom, especially since he was preparing to leave this place. Confused, Wai Ming asks why he's joking about this. Meanwhile, Donghua thinks that he knew they would react like this. As quickly as possible, he wants to find a way to become human again. He's still worried about Hao Di and whether she's safe. After all, he was human and they were demons. He couldn't keep getting so close and developing feelings. He's realizing that it's getting harder and harder to die, and he's sure the demons won't help him with that. Suddenly, the dragon tells him to relax, because Princess Hao is safe for now, and he wasn't going to leave there alone because he would always be by his side. Donghua thanks him, saying it's always good to have him around. Geita then asks Donghua where he plans to go. Meanwhile, Wai Ming keeps pressing to know his plans, but the dragon simply spreads its wings and flies away. In another part of the city, Wu Jun is lying in bed beside his father. He asks that his father knows when the next prosthetic arm will arrive. Xuan replies that he's already asked that 3 times today. Xuan wonders why his son is so worried, and if it's because of that person. Wu Jun ignores him and tells his father to rest. From the moment he saw that man at the court, and after everything he did in the cave, he should have realized it much sooner. That man wasn't a demon at all. He belonged to the race Wu Jun hated most. In another part of the mountains, the system window displays the same message, stating that the only way to become human again is to die. Donghua tells Gaida that, unfortunately, no matter how many times he tries, that's the only answer. The problem is that with his current power and abilities, it's far too difficult for anyone to kill him. He needs to find someone above rank S with an ability to kill him instantly. But even in his past life, the only time he encountered something like that was in the Demon Tower. He mentions to Gaeta that there's one solution, but it requires him to remember that he's just a contracted beast. Thinking of a way to help kill his master makes him feel bad. Suddenly, a boulder at the top of the mountain begins to fall, heading straight for Donghua's head, but Gaeta slices it apart effortlessly. Gaeta says that unfortunately, as a contracted beast, he will protect Donghua no matter what happens. Out of nowhere, a bear appears to attack Donghua, but it gets blasted with a laser to the face. The dragon apologizes, saying he's not doing this intentionally. Night falls, and the bear becomes dinner. Donghua, now full, picks up his sword and tells the dragon that it's best for him to recharge too. He slashes, activating a dimensional space. As they are about to enter, Donghua begins dismantling the sword. He says that at dusk, they'll head east in search of the Demon Tower. Even though it's a vague objective, it's the only option he has. And if that's the case, what else can he do? But then, he senses someone approaching. The person places a blade to his neck and asks if the handsome one is planning to leave without saying goodbye. It's Wu Jin, who says there's a celebration happening in Yun's territory, yet the true hero is trying to run away. Donghua asks why Wu Jin isn't drinking there instead of coming here, but Wu Jin ignores him, demanding to know Donghua's true purpose in coming to the Yun Kingdom. The protagonist notices Wu Jin's fury, but also realizes he has no intention of killing him. Wu Jin keeps pressing, asking about his connection to humans and why he knows so much about them. Why does the Thunder Dragon follow him, and why did that human weapon fly into his hand? Donghua grabs his sword and reveals that he is human. He pushes Wu Jin's arm aside and says it's a pity, but Wu Jin can't kill him now. After all, dying wouldn't be a bad thing for him. Wu Jin responds that he's noticed Donghua is always seeking death and doesn't understand why. From the trouble with his father to the events in the cave, Wu Jin doesn't get why Donghua wants this. Donghua reveals that dying is the only way for him to return to being human, which he originally was, though strangely he ended up in this demon body. Wu Jin then asks why Donghua killed that human captain if he didn't need to save anyone. He could have simply died at the hands of that man and thus returned to being human. A human army would have won, and Donghua probably would have gotten what he wanted. Wu Jin has a point. It's true. But Donghua replies that it's not about the side he's on, but about the things he believes in. He couldn't tolerate something as evil as that. Wu Jin releases Donghua's neck and says it's humans who keep bringing misery to their territory, bringing death and destruction, and they even killed his mother. That's why he hates humans and believes they all deserve to die, and Donghua deserves to die along with them. But deep down, he really hoped Donghua was still a demon. The dragon tells Donghua that he can feel Wu Jin seek him a bit of comfort, but Donghua remains cold, simply saying he's leaving. The dragon asks if he's really not going to say anything, but Donghua says he can't form any connections. That's when Wu Jin reveals that in a week, there will be the Alliance Tournament, the most important competition among the 18 demon nations, a battle where each nation must send 2 demons, and obviously the strongest will appear, including numerous S-class demons. If Donghua truly wanted to die that much, this would be a perfect opportunity. Even though he's the strongest in the Yun Kingdom, he shouldn't underestimate the entire demon race. Donghua seems intrigued and asks if participants in this tournament can really kill each other. Wu Jin confirms, saying that the participants have no fear of death because they carry the pride of their nation. Obviously, in Yun's current state, no one wants to risk their life, and that's why the Demon Lord allowed both of them to participate. Wujin was going to help Donghua come up with a strategy to die. However, the Demon King couldn't let anyone else kill him. Only Wujin could deliver the final blow when the time came. Donghua stayed silent but immediately agreed. It was exactly what he wanted. Wujin explained that the Demon Alliance was composed of 18 kingdoms. It was said that the world's powers came from mysterious regions, and currently, the demons controlled 2 of them. The alliance gathering served 2 purposes: to bring all the leaders to one place, and to determine the leader of the entire demon alliance. The method for this was the tournament, held once every 3 years. The demon world was fair. Whoever was strongest reigned supreme. Only the victor of the final battle could lead the demon race, but obviously, it was also a stage for the strong kingdoms to showcase their power. Bingbi explained that the beauty of the tournament had faded. Now, all the kingdoms that participated were full of schemes, only attending for their own interests. To guarantee victory, they sent the most ruthless demons and used the lowest methods, much so that in the last tournament, only 5 of the 36 participants survived. Of course, none of the demons sent by the young kingdom returned alive. She said it wasn't too late for them to back out. She could write a letter ensuring they wouldn't participate, but upon looking, the 2 had already disappeared. Poor Bingbi, they were already gone. Donghua was looking out the window of the airship, seeing the Flame Kingdom for the first time. The airship was futuristic, but was being carried by the dragon, combining nature and technology perfectly. We then see the capital of the Flame City, known as Beiji. Bingbi mentioned how much the place had changed in just a few years. She said they should check in quickly, since there was going to be a banquet that night, but once again, the 2 had disappeared. Donghua was intrigued by the exotic fruits around. Meanwhile, Wujin swore to himself that he would deliver the final blow. Wujin was eyeing a shop, while Donghua was more interested in legendary fruits. The vendor explained that the fruit was cultivated in demonic fields and had instant recovery effects. It was an extremely rare item known as watermelon. Wujin, on the other hand, was amazed that a street shop had so many ranked weapons, while the young kingdom had to use secret factories to produce special weapons. The shopkeeper chimed in, commenting about the young kingdom, saying it couldn't even compare to the Flame Kingdom. The Flame Kingdom had more power, resources, a stronger economy, and much larger land. He asked if Donghua was there to watch the tournament. Donghua was about to say yes, but before he could answer, a girl next to him made a noise. This was one of the competitors from the Yu Kingdom. Young Kingdom adds an N, remember? Shang Lin commented that the Yu Kingdom must have run out of talent if they were sending someone like him. Wujin was furious, but the girl simply turned to the vendor, ordering him to pack all the ranked items and send them to the Ixian Bala Hotel. She handed him the money and said she was looking forward to seeing if the Yu Kingdom could surprise anyone this year. It would be nice if they were different from the past, as the only opponent for her was her own kingdom. Wujin sensed that the girl was clearly a ranked demon. Later at the hotel, he told Bingyi that the people in this region were far too arrogant. She replied that it was to be expected. No one would be friendly right before a championship. The truth was that when these tournaments first began, most kingdoms had similar strength, but over time, the Flame Kingdom, Yu Kingdom, and Lake Kingdom kept accumulating power. And as the saying goes, the strong get stronger, especially considering that these 3 kingdoms almost always alternated victories among themselves. The prize for the competition was a stone that allowed a demon to advance to rank S. The winner also became the commander of the 18 armies, gaining the right to use the Alliance's mines. Gongwu seemed impressed by something. Bingyi said they had arrived at the greatest pride of the entire demon race. Just then, someone appeared behind them. A man pushing a girl in a wheelchair asked if this was the Changbala Hotel. Shanglin commented that she'd run into those weirdos buying watermelons again. Wujin was already losing his temper, ready to hit her, but Bingyi calmly told him not to fall for the trap, reminding him that the tournament was about to begin. Meanwhile, Dongwu was talking to some people who said they were from the Mist Kingdom. Dongwu warned them not to go easy on him if they encountered him in the tournament. Bingyi, seeing this, suggested they leave quickly, but suddenly, she felt a strange energy behind her and her backpack flew off. Dongwu didn't seem too concerned, wondering where the invisible thief was, but the guy from the Mist Kingdom stepped forward, telling Dongwu to watch his sister. He closed his eyes, exuding a blue energy, spread his arms, and summoned energy behind him. Suddenly, they were in a sea of energy. He opened his eyes and said, "Found them." He stretched his hand, launching an ice attack, and froze the invisible thief's foot. As soon as the thief looked up, Wujin was right in front of him. declaring that such behavior must be punished violently. The guy immediately reveals that he's from the Fallen Kingdom and just begs not to be handed over to the guards. Meanwhile, Dongwoo praises the boy for easily finding the invisible thief. Bingyi thanks him too and asks if he's already rank S. The boy, named Lacey, says the Mist Kingdom has never had a ranks demon, but he's working hard toward it. The scene shifts to inside the hotel, where they all enter. They're registering while a guard mentions that apparently everyone has arrived. A man in a white suit nearby says it's time for the preliminaries to begin. Walking through the corridors, people comment on how crowded the place is today. Looking at the clock, Bingyi remarks that they'll miss the banquet at this rate. Dongwoo, while walking, finds it strange that they sent a wheelchair user to compete. Finally, it's their turn, but Bingyi calls the Mist group over, telling them to go ahead. The receptionist asks for their documents, wondering why they're not already in hand. A bit embarrassed, Lacey hands over the documents and asks if she's referring to these. But suddenly, everyone starts murmuring about someone arriving. A man lounging in a chair comments that every time this guy shows up, it's a spectacle. Who's this now? Oh, here comes Lin Lai from the Lei Kingdom. The man was the biggest star, and apparently they sent a wheelchair user just so she'd die in combat, or not. Look at her serious expression as she speaks. As they enter, one of the guards approaches the line and orders everyone to move aside. The guard even tells Lacey to get out of the way. Lacey doesn't respond, and the guard throws him aside. The girl calls out to him but feels a hand on her shoulder. It's Dongwoo staring seriously. The receptionist tells Linlai that his mother can skip registration entirely. Linlai replies, telling his siblings to escort his mother while he handles the check-in. And out of nowhere, he's hit by Dongwoo. As he stumbles into the arms of the guards, Dongwoo picks up Lacey's sister and places her back in line, declaring that they would go first. The receptionist is utterly confused, unsure what to do. Meanwhile, the man in the white suit is eagerly anticipating the show. The problem is that Dongwoo has taken a risk for getting the title Linlai holds, the most powerful of all demons. Linlai asks if he was really pushed. He approaches Dongwoo, commenting on his bravery, but Dongwoo completely ignores him, only asking the receptionist if there's an issue with the documents. Linlai places a hand on Dongwoo's shoulder and asks if he can't hear him speaking. Clearly, Linlai is exerting a tremendous force, but nothing is happening. Woozin mutters that Dongwoo should rip his hand off. Linlai pauses for a moment and lets out a Joker-style laugh. Even Woozin feels the pressure. Linlai, now excited, says he admires Dongwoo's courage. He finds his power fascinating and can't wait to see his abilities. But suddenly someone raises a hand, asking Mr. Lin not to do this, as he would be disqualified. It's a short demon who declares that Linlai is a super VIP and doesn't even need to be in the common registration area. Linlai should already be in the luxurious suites and shouldn't concern himself with these lowly people. After all, the common quarters are only for smaller kingdoms. Linlai retreats, saying he understands, and bids farewell to the two, stating that the competition awaits. Woozhen approaches the receptionist, asking how long they'll have to wait. A demon from Alkalingo steps forward, saying he'll handle it. He asks if Lacey's card is valid, and informs him that the girl beside him isn't authorized to check in. Lacey protests, saying it doesn't make sense since the invitation allowed him to bring a family guest. But the demon dismisses him, claiming there's no proof she's his family. He also mentions that the runes are nearly full. Dongwoo begins to notice how much harder everything is for the lower-ranked kingdoms. Jin grabs the demon by the neck, reminding him that they are invited participants and should be treated with respect. But the demon tells him to let go, warning that Jin isn't competing and could cause their team to be disqualified. Reluctantly, Jin releases him. The demon sneers, saying kingdoms like Yun and the Mist Kingdom should never have joined the alliance. It's ridiculous for them to demand to be treated as important people. But Bingyi intervenes, stating that everyone there is overestimating themselves. Suddenly, the demon explodes in rage, calling them a bunch of filthy farmers who only came to steal food and drink. Jin grabs the demon's mouth and begins lifting him, pulling him by the neck. But Bingyi steps in, tossing him aside. She declares that coming to this place and experiencing everything for free is a great blessing. However, that doesn't mean they should be treated differently. She slams the demon to the ground, proclaiming that as the current Lord of Yun, she will not allow her citizens to be humiliated. She is a descendant of Liu Yun and was present at the formation of the 18 nations. What the demon just said now gives her the right to give a lichen. And do you remember that the last chapter ended with the redhead beating up the old man, giving him that scare, warning that when the demon clans got together, they made a vow to stay united, and anyone who had the intention of causing dissolution or division among them should be executed, especially because the alliance was originally a symbol of unity, sharing, and prosperity. The chubby guy is their all-trembling man with that face. Looks like he's crapping himself. Meanwhile, the evil one is already flying up high, saying it looks like everyone forgot that little promise. Suddenly, suddenly, a little elf showed up clapping and saying he really liked what he just saw. The name of the rascal is Sai Ming. The short guy is trying to ask for help from him too, and the blonde guy apologizes, saying this only happened because of their terrible hospitality. The angry one already realized he was the boss, and said that place was chaotic and poorly managed. And Wu Juan agrees, saying with subordinates like those, "Man, this place is bankrupt." To prevent the bastards from causing problems, the guy in the suit already apologizes and says the most luxurious rooms had been reserved, and to show regret, he was going to gift our boys group a presidential suite. He goes up to the girl in the wheelchair and tells them not to worry. They could stay in his private suite, man, which is the penthouse in a nearby house. Still saying the place had a fabulous view, and all this wasn't an excuse for the hotel's poor management. They just hoped they'd be understanding and accept the apology. Besides, they have a big banquet later and everyone was supposed to join. However, our protagonist wants to know what they're going to do with the short guy. No way they were going to let him get away with this. The elf is trembling with rage while the other guy is crapping himself, man. The bastard wasn't going to let it slide. Then he pulls out the .38 and says that right there would be the verdict. He loads about 6 bullets, leaves only one spinning, and says that fate will decide the guy's future. He puts it to the chubby guy's forehead and says his chance of surviving is 1 in 5. Everyone is tense there, but our boy, right? I don't know. He's just watching. The trigger is pulled, but obviously the gun doesn't fire. Immediately, the chubby guy goes to lick the boss's boots, man, for being merciful. Even so, he is banned from the hotel, man, and the guy says he should never show up there again. After all that mess, it's time for the group to leave. They head toward the rooms while the secretary in the back says that all of that was kind of scary. Good thing seeming arrived in time to stop the whole mess. But the guy is thoughtful, man. He's surprised because during that whole conflict, our boy didn't flinch. Just watching our boy from behind, man. Who's mentally talking to Gita and asking if she noticed anything strange? There was no reason for a hotel manager to try to provoke them like that. She replies that she thinks that bastard is just putting on a little show. He finds it confusing. Why would they do something like that? Set a trap to try and eliminate them. If that was the case, why would he get involved to protect and stop all of it? Nothing made sense. The only reason that made sense in his head was that this guy probably wants to see everyone's strength, almost like he's selecting opponents. And look at the bastard just looking back with a little smirk, man, while saying they'll meet in the arena. The scene then changes to a naughty girl sitting at the table. Man, who are you? Is this the end of Tiny Eyes? Oh damn, we won't know because the next chapter switched over to talk about the arena. The tournament would be divided into 2 stages. The first scenario would be qualification, the second, elimination. All 36 participants from the 18 realms would compete, and the champion from the last event would skip the qualifiers and go straight to the main event. The restaurant is divided into 7 groups, each with 5 people. The battle will be the basics. Every man for himself, 2 for all, and let's go. The other winners go on to one-on-one matches until only one is the champion. Thanks there for explaining how a one-on-one tournament works. Each one goes one-on-one until there are only 2 left, and whoever wins between the 2 is the winner. Wuzhen, my man, is angry because the situation yesterday at the hotel left him full of rage. They thought they were going to relax peacefully at the banquet, but that wasn't the case, right, man? Big Liu Bingyi went on to say that they were representatives of the Yun Kingdom. However, the area was restricted to delegations from the Flame Kingdom. Besides them, only the Yu Kingdom and the Lei Kingdom were allowed in, so they would have to go to the lower kingdoms, since the priority was to give the best of the best to the people from the higher kingdoms. While all that's happening, Wuzhen is getting more and more furious. The poor vendor nearby tries to wave goodbye, but is left hanging because of Wuzhen's anger. He had gone there to buy some equipment, some potions, check out the items just to make sure he hadn't forgotten anything. But right nearby, a robbery was going on, and my impression is that the artist forgot to draw the rest of the guy's body. Oh damn. And which damn Chinese guy came up with the idea of putting a loli in, man? As if the Japanese doing that wasn't enough. Don't forget the big evil one. Get out of here, girl. And there she is, saying that this kingdom is a disgrace. How can a place that claims to be advanced have street criminals? If her brother didn't have this damn tournament, she would have never bothered coming to such a rundown place. The robber is getting impatient. Told her once again to hand over all her money or she'd regret it. Now that I noticed, he's kind of invisible, right? Hey, artist. Sorry for the criticism, man. I didn't know the boy's power. But obviously, she's already preparing to end the poor guy's life. Then, out of nowhere, she gets a cheerful little smile, and Wuzhen notices it's someone named Sewer. Then she yells out, calling for Wuzhen. The robber tells her to stop calling for help if she doesn't want to die, man. But now Wuzhen comes flying in and hits him with a knee. Actually, it was a punch. I don't know. I just know the sucker went down spinning. And what is this, bro? He showed up all romantic. Man, this guy's unlocking the jail. Call the FBI. Even worse, this weirdo went all red. She's Michelle, princess of the Snow Kingdom. Wait, but you just called her Sewer, which is the Chinese name, right? Stoke. Sewer in Chinese means princess of snow? Damn, bro. Look at that, I'm becoming a polyglot. Another guy standing nearby raises his little finger, wondering what they're going to do now that someone else showed up. Another accomplice on top of a building says they shouldn't miss this opportunity. There were no guards and the girl looks super rich. But then the guy realizes something else was going wrong. The leg of a guy who was hiding starts to freeze before he can even notice. Obviously, it was Sewer, while Woojin is asking her if she's okay. She puts on a dramatic act, all distraught, saying that if it wasn't for him, she'd be done for. She's lost there with all these thugs around. Woojin, however, already knew who that bald bastard was and started wondering why the guards had let him escape. She, however, is just clinging to his arm, telling him to forget about that and take a walk with her. Of course, as they're leaving Man, she already sends that guy off to the ice project. Also walking down the street are the brother and the sister in a wheelchair. The boy is apologizing for being useless, saying it all happened because of him. But the sister tells him it's okay. The medicine was too expensive, and he'll find it somewhere else soon. Poor kid says he'll give it everything he's got to win the tournament, my son, and the prize will be used to pay for his sister's surgery. I almost wish you'd win. If you had a chance, I'd root for you, kid. She says the money the villagers collected can be used to buy him a lot of equipment. Besides, she asks him not to push himself too hard. His safety should come first. Meanwhile, our protagonist is focused on getting his items too. Strangely, this bastard now has that handsome look on his face. Right, man? Where's that idiot face you had before? Oh, damn. It's the Sun Junwoo effect. He asks Gagda if there's anyone who could beat him, and she says it's hard to say, especially since the previous tournament's winner didn't show up. Roovers say the two people from the U Kingdom are extremely powerful. The hotel guy and that rude kid also seem pretty good, but the chances of facing all of them are pretty low. Then our sly guy said he had a brilliant idea. He didn't need to check every opponent one by one. The dragon wants to know what kind of damn idea this is. In a shop, Stewer is there buying rank S items for Woojin, man. He says it's not necessary and that he doesn't need them. And at the same time, there are several other competitors training in their own ways, bro. Some meditate, some do push-ups, and the tournament is about to begin. Finally, the day of the grand competition arrived, and it would be broadcast live to all 18 kingdoms of the demon tribe. What no one knew, however, was that this event would define the course of history for everyone there. Many important people are present to witness it, and no one knows about something extraordinary that is about to happen. Cue the fireworks show. Everyone gets hyped and the announcer talks to the crowd saying he's going to introduce the competitors of the first group. 5 people were already in the arena. The first to be introduced was Aesir from the Ru Kingdom. This guy looks like a demon Goku with that outfit, bro. The second was Shang Wu, and the bastard even has some swag. The dude says this first match will show the world the power of the Flame Kingdom. The bald guy beside him agrees, saying that Tremblown Megazord is definitely going to be the champion of this event. Man, the chance of the strongest guy in the Anaheim being the buff, 1 is lower than winning the Megazord in a lottery. My guy, it exists. Baldy. Down in the arena, the spotlight's on the beast, man, and the presentation of the last competitor is done. Ah, who's the ultimate badass, right, my dude? Our beloved Gandongguo. The dragon wants to know if he's really going to carry out this crazy plan. He says he definitely will because that's how he does things. Next chapter already starts with people throwing money on the little tiger. Throw. Bets flying everywhere on who's going to win that fight. The favorite among the fools is the Tremblown giant. If it were me, I'd bet on the protagonist. But over there, in everyone's opinion, anyone who bet on our boy was an idiot. Nobody bets on a minor kingdom because they always lose, especially on someone like him who is completely unknown. Everyone's laughing at whoever wants to bet on that guy. Until suddenly, look who shows up. The blonde elf. He casually arrives saying he's there just to have fun. Everyone wants to know who he's going to bet on. He casually says he's going to put 5 million on our boy. Everyone's in shock and tells the crowd to calm down. His own match would only be later. Right now, he was there to watch with everybody else. Everyone thinks the boss is just being generous, betting on the underdog to maybe score some cash. Then the announcer says that since all the contestants are in the arena, the countdown would begin. 5 seconds left, bro. And as it gets closer to 0, everyone starts getting ready. 1 second left on the clock, and our boy is just there relaxing, massaging his shoulder. As soon as the countdown hits, I'm already jumping around, bro. The Tremblown dude is everyone's target. The weird guy over there activates black armor mode, gaining 1,000 defense points. There's a crazy guy with swag slashing left and right, another one slapping, gunfire, explosions, pyrotechnics, smoke. But yeah, obviously the guy with 1,000 defense is untouched in the middle. The fools are all trembling, wide-eyed, wondering how not even a scratch landed. Meanwhile, in his bed, the rich guy is watching the match. To hit him, this strategy of the weak ones teaming up to take down the strongest was way too predictable. But they wouldn't win anyway if none of them could pierce the armor individually. All they were doing was wasting time. That's when he notices our protagonist hadn't done a single thing and gets kind of confused. He asks Geita if she's ready, and she says she's been charged up for a long time. While Lujin is trying to figure out what our boy is planning since he's doing absolutely nothing. Then he starts drawing his sword, saying it's time to put on a show. The badass is loaded with mana and shouts for everyone to pay attention to him. Now he's got that idiot face on again, huh man? Quickly, his spotlights turn toward him, and they see a dragon flying in the sky. In the arena, everyone's still kind of confused and hasn't realized what just happened. Then our boy points a finger at the Tremblone dude and tells him to activate the most powerful defense he's got. The extra thinks it's a joke since a little guy like that could never hurt him. But our boy gets into a stance like it's a baseball game and sends the slash in his direction. The fools watching are in shock and an explosion erupts in the middle of the arena. Obviously, our boy's friends already expected that, right, bro? When a smoke clears, all the competitors are wiped out. Even the guy with 1,000 defenses down bleeding, wondering how that's even possible. The announcer goes wild, saying that now only 2 challengers remain. Everyone else have been taken out with a single strike. Our boy points his sword and warns that if he has to strike again, it'll be with full power. Right away, the sucker gives up, saying he's not up for that. Everyone who bet on the little tiger bro fell for the obvious. Dude lost their money, they got screwed. And the giant quickly realizes that the sword the guy was using caused real damage and ignored any kind of defense. The kid hadn't even used full power on that first attack. If he had, the entire arena would have been wiped out. Now all shaky and scared, he wants to know who this boy is. And finally, the winner of the match is announced. Our boy, Gon Dongwo, from the Yun Kingdom. Almost too weak to speak, the giant wants to know how he has such overwhelming strength. It's impossible for someone of rank A to be this strong. Our boy just ignores him, takes advantage of the broadcast, grabs the mic, and says that everyone there was way too weak. It didn't matter which kingdom they were from or what level they were at. All those demons here were a bunch of weaklings. Obviously, that man doesn't make anyone happy. While his friends are panicking, knowing he just picked a fight with the entire kingdom, our boy doesn't stop and says that first place already belongs to him. If anyone felt offended and wanted to settle it, all they had to do was fight him and prove him wrong. Back in his kingdom, obviously, everyone's hyped up about this challenge, bro. Recognizing that the beast really is fit to be a general, not to mention that they had survived thanks to his efforts. Even those who once doubted him now recognize that he's bringing many opportunities. The population was overcome with enthusiasm. Later, the battles continued. It was Yuno boy Lin Li's turn, and he quickly wiped everyone out. Right away, he started yelling that nobody was going to take first place from him. The former general says it's because of powerful demons from other tribes that they never managed to prosper. But now, thanks to Gan, they can dream once again. Maybe the kingdom would finally return to its peak. The third part of the qualifiers was about to start, and the next fighters were announced. The first poor soul this time is named Xing Tian. Oh my god, my son. You have no chance at all. He looks exactly like Kazuya from Tekken. And the other ones next to him, just some bald guys. This time, Wu Jun's up, man. He's like a regular protagonist, but since our main boy is so overpowered, we need a second one, right? That leaves you wondering, will he win? Will he lose? Only problem for the poor guy is that since our boy wipes everyone out, everyone has super high expectations, especially since he's from the same kingdom. At least of the 7 battles in this round, this is the only group with no rank S man, so maybe it won't be too hard for our boy, unless they were demons above rank A+. Wujin wouldn't lose to anyone, unless it was to him. Meanwhile, Sura is there cheering excitedly, and it looks like some folks are realizing she's the princess of the Snow Kingdom. The match then begins. The generic nobodies and the bald guys gang up to go after him, man. He notices that everyone's so angry because of what our boy said, which is only making things easier for him. One slash takes out one of the suckers. The Tekken-looking guy finishes off another from behind, and now it's one-on-one. At least he knew this bastard was rank A and had extremely high attack power. And the weirdo is staring him down, licking his lips. Get out of here, man. You're all drooly. Go clean yourself up. Wu Jun charges in immediately, thinking that ever since that power-up in the cave in his battle with the human race, he'd become much stronger. He dodges the strange guy's attack, leaving only an afterimage behind. Bro, the kid is way too fast. The sucker is shocked. How did he move like that? He takes another venomous hit that deals critical damage, man. What's that already on the ground, bro? Ah, but he had taken one too. Man, holy hell. Where's that arm coming from? Damn, he sent an arm straight through his chest, all twisted and stretched. Right away, Wu Jun is forced to retreat, while Gandalf notices something strange about that damned Singteen. Wu Jun, though, swears he would never lose or be defeated in a place like this. Man, he unleashes another sequence of slashes, and the guy's already got no head, no neck, no chest, no arms, no stomach, nothing left. But then he just reconstitutes himself with some weird stuff coming out of his chest, saying hulu gulu. The poor guy thought it was all over, but in that moment I was shocked when I looked back. The guy's body was completely regenerated, and now it was the damn zombies' turn to attack him. That's when Woojun notices the strike coming was really similar to a technique he himself had used, and man, it really was the same slash. You took your own move, sucker. He didn't manage to dodge 100%, but he avoided most of the damage. Up in the stands, our boy was watching. He already started warning Woojun that there was something weird about that guy. He was surrounded by a strange aura, all evil-like. But Woojun wasn't going to give up, no way. He didn't step into that arena to walk out like a coward. That feeling of helplessness he had that day, he never wanted to feel it again. He wanted the strength to protect his people or his father from getting hurt. The future of the young kingdom had to be protected by him and no one else. The poor guy with that protagonist's speech, man. Now he's glowing, already pulling out the bleach mask, saying he's gonna have to get stronger and make sure first place is his. Looking at that weirdo pointing a weapon at him, he finally charges forward, already using the dragon fire breathing man, launched a kamehameha out of his mouth in that direction, smoke everywhere, and when it clears, the guy had been completely obliterated. But obviously he regenerates fully and gives him a death stare, bro. And the worst part is that ability left Woojun in a weakened state. Our boy says now we're screwed, and the bastard really was 100% recovered. Then he uses a mean level move that repeats the same ability. What the hell, bro? Woojun is just standing there full on Gaiga Chad, man. You know you're about to die, son. His dad's already crying. The cheerleader, the sister, everyone's freaked out. Wait, did Xingqian actually win the third match? Yikes, bro, what happened? Well, the chapter ended right there. Let's go to the next one. There he was, the poor kid being helped by everyone who was worried about his condition. But the boy realized that in the last moment, at least he managed to avoid the most serious damage, even though he was unconscious anyway. He asks the girls to take him to medical treatment so he can be taken care of. And looking over at that weird Xingqian, man, I'm sure there's something suspicious about that bastard. The announcer is congratulating Xingqian, while the bearded demon is being praised for securing a win for his kingdom. Nothing strange about that fully black sclera, right? The bastard's name is Maiden. A few days earlier, something had happened in the Feng kingdom, where several demons lost their heads. A strange parasite started heading toward the bodies, enters the head, and the guys are reborn. But with that, they became the minions of someone else, someone who needed new pawns to complete a bigger mission. The guys, obviously now totally manipulated, just respond that they can be counted on, that they'll act willingly. The not at all mysterious dude with a hood, you can't see his face, says it's good to know. That's because first place in that competition must go to the evil clan. Back in the arena, the winner of the fourth match is the buddy Xiangling. In the fifth match, the winner was the representative of the Flame Nation, Stemming, the guy in the little suit. The demons, however, still didn't know that a much greater evil was approaching. The announcer calls for the sixth match. Jasmine guides this one king to Haxan Hearts. The tough-haired dude says he's never heard that name before. The announcer was about to introduce the next one, but it seems our boy knows this girl from somewhere. He starts trying to dig into his memories, trying to remember where he knows this crazy girl from. Back when he was just a pants wetter, he was there holding a sword, begging her not to come any closer. The girl, however, asks him not to be afraid. They weren't bad people. He didn't remember anything that had happened or why he was there or even where his home was. The only thing he could remember was his own name, Chef Fanglio. He wanted to know more about the girl. What was her reason for also entering a place like that, devastated by war? She dodges the questions, saying she had just left home to take a walk and that her name was Jasmine. After that, one of the guards calls the princess Haoliana, saying they needed to return quickly because her mother had come back to the capital. But the girl scolds the guard, saying they had agreed to be stealthy this time. Time passed, and the two ended up staying together by the time they were 12 men. She kept sneaking out of the palace and needed to return before the celebration. Our boy says he'll help her, since climbing up there was a bit tricky. Back then, they were the same age. Obviously, the sucker was already in love. Jasmine asks that they remember when they were outside, they had to use different names. Remember that tip, right? They call her Jasmine, right? Because her name is actually Princess Haoliana. Oh, you slee dog. You already have the Demon King's woman, the human queen, and now you want one more, my guy? You're on fire. The match was about to begin, and our boy was interested. Jasmine seemed to be drawing attention in the middle of the arena, and the first ones had already gone after her. But she puts her hand to her chest, casts a spell outward, with a peculiar expression, a louder than needed scream, and starts freezing everyone. This left our boy even more surprised, because her techniques were similar to those from childhood. This time, instead of using her voice to activate the skill, however, a large circle appears on her back. With a staff in hand, she slams it into the center of the arena floor, making several roots sprout. The announcer tells the crowd she can manipulate 2 elements, which is something remarkable, but the more techniques she used or spoke, the more certain our boy became that she was the same person. Her last attack sends out a massive shockwave, throwing everyone out. The badass cleared the whole place and sent Team Rocket flying, bro. While our boy is there, he keeps repeating to himself that everything is just like hers, both of them. But now he was sure. There's no way someone could have the same name, the same ability. Couldn't be a coincidence. It was too much. What did make sense was why she had a demonic appearance. The person he knew was a human. As she leaves the arena, the announcer tells the crowd there are now 6 winning candidates and only 1 match left. But our boy isn't even listening to anything. It all just feels like a blur. In the corridors, he's heading toward the badass. He runs down the stairs, desperate, looking for the damn girl, but ends up losing her and stops, asking himself why she ended up in a demon's body. While he's there with his head down, sure that it could only be her, the badass is hiding just behind him, bro, saying that she couldn't reveal herself to him yet. She had to first complete what she needed to do. The evil clan had infiltrated that competition, and they were going to take first place. Little by little, they would take control of all the demon people. This was the crucial event that would affect the entire story taking place. That's why she had to stop those guys from winning and also ensure that our boy ascends to the throne. No one at that event knew that their enemy was something far worse than they imagined, but for now, nothing could be revealed to our boy, so she only hoped he'd stay strong. The next chapter starts with our boy saying that the truth is, ever since he reincarnated, a lot had changed. He doesn't know the whereabouts of the human bestie man. The throne had been taken by Shinji Biao, who soon after attacked the Yun kingdom. That ended up making our boy form this alliance with that nation. The problem is, that alone was enough to cause a massive butterfly effect, and now the entire reality he was supposed to know has been altered. The advantage he had of knowing the future is gone, since it's no longer possible to predict what's going to happen next. The dragon asks what he's going to do if his conference doesn't go exactly as he's been planning, to which he just replies that he has no choice. He'll have to do exactly that. He always pulls this move of saying he's going to do something, but not actually saying what it is. In the tournament then, the 7 candidates have already been selected for the next phase. Among them, the former champion, and now, only the last battles of the qualifying phase remain. Flying over the arena, the announcer asks who's going to be the last one standing. In the middle of the arena, only 2 fighters remain. The battle is intense between the little boy and the musclehead. The problem is that the bastard is an S-rank demon and leader of the demon underworld. Lao Bai is the name of the badass, and he asks if the boy was the one who attacked his subordinate the other day. The crowd is all cheering for the bald guy. I'm pretty sure they bet on him. And he says he saved the boy for last just to have fun crushing him. Trying to scare the kid, he says he'll show him what happens to anyone who disrespects the gang. Meanwhile, everyone's watching the fight. Our protagonist asks if the kid stands a chance. She says, unfortunately that boy helped them before, man, but the poor thing isn't much. Gandangwa then says that apparently he's not on the same level, doesn't have the same strength, doesn't have a good family, doesn't have money. He has nothing. The only person who believed that Bastard would win was his sister. But that's exactly why he had to be determined to win, because there was someone depending directly on him, man. He wasn't going to fall there. And our boy realizes that Bastard was ready to give his life to achieve victory, which reminds him of his past life when he was just a prisoner. Back then, he was a simple B-rank warrior, had to defeat monsters all day just to stay alive. And during those times, he said the same words, that he wasn't afraid of any enemies. The problem is that the creature he was up against, man, was another S-rank gladiator. And obviously, the guy was looking down on him, saying that it was going to be more like torture. Back then, Jasmine had been imprisoned, and she asked why he came back to save her if they had already agreed to meet again later. But the truth is, our boy had made a bet with the whole arena. If he won, the 2 of them would be freed. Even though the arena was chaotic, there were still rules that were always followed. The crowd is shouting excitedly, everyone wanting to see the boy get crushed. Too bad for the suckers, because he's the protagonist this time, bro. The gladiator charges in furiously at our boy, who in that moment was forced to surpass his own limits. And just like our boy in his past life, now the little guy is charging in too, right at the S rank. His agility is much higher, and he manages to land a few shots on the bald guy. The problem is, he still lacked the power to bring the thug down, who uses a ground technique that paralyzes everyone. He charges in the very next second to finish the kid, saying it's over. Our boy though, man, is this gonna be the vibe every time now, huh, you bastard? Took a beating back when he was in the arena, right? Who would have thought? Took a huge blow right to the chin. After that beatdown, the poor guy tries to get up, but bro, the crowd is just screaming, saying it's incredible. Obviously, everyone's begging, pleading for the boy to be crushed. Back in the present, another bald guy says he's going to get revenge on those damn people who were born with hair. Jasmine in the past was screaming desperately, thinking our boy was about to pass on to the afterlife. Meanwhile, the sister in the wheelchair is feeling the same way now, man, thinking her brother's about to die too. Both of the S-rank muscleheads felt the same rage for being challenged by someone so much weaker, but the boy's determination, man, was unshakable. Right as he was about to deliver the final blow that would decide the match, the bald guy was already tasting victory. The attack was about to hit sweeps across the arena, but in that same second, the little guy's already at his back row. At the same time in the past, our boy did the exact same thing and landed a slash, both of them swearing they'd never lose to that guy. Our boy says people evolve like never before when they push forward in an impossible situation. And man, the kid landed an arrow straight through the bald guy's skull, bro. At the same time, he advanced to S rank and led the Lace Patriot unit. What is this man, covered in golden aura? He's a beast for real. All right then. In the crowd now, it's just jaws dropping. Everyone's in shock. And in the past, it was the same thing with our boy. Back then, he became the youngest S-rank warrior in history. Big Balloon Girl is shocked too, saying he evolved mid-fight. It's the first time she's seen someone reach S-rank right in front of her. And our boy in his swag-out suit says a king is always born from someone weak, while the announcer is going wild, saying that was an incredible match. Lace from the Mist Kingdom shattered everyone's expectations. With that, the 8 finalists had been decided, and the tournament would move on to the next phase. There would be 3 stages until the final, and obviously now, bro, it's all one-on-one battles where only the winner moves on. What it was called was to go backstage so the matches could be drawn. Everyone heads to the hallway right, man. And soon enough, look who's up front, the baddest girl. Our boy, as always, is just thinking how similar she looks, and he doesn't even want to know how things are over on the human world side because he's been living with the demons for a long time now and hasn't heard a thing. Even Dragon mentally agrees her appearance is very similar to the princess, which makes our boy realize he can't be wasting too much time here. He needs to beat everyone quickly and move on. That's because he needs to get back to her body soon, right, man? Because the real threats are the ones who could end him. That's when the dragon says, the only threats to our boy in this tournament are Lin Lai or Sai Ming. The guy with the hoodie named Shu is a threat, whose strength they don't really know. But yeah, obviously he's not weak. As soon as our boy places his hand on the black orb, bro, he pulls number 1, which means his opponent will be number 2. Whoa, looks like it's going to be Lace. Not totally sure, but it's showing number 2 there. And the guy in the suit pulled number 5. But strangely, he says it wouldn't be fun like that. He gives a little smirk, some spinning stuff shows up, and he says it's time to change the options. What did he do? Did he rewind time? I'm kind of confused. What's happening? Damn it. And then he goes up to our boy, shows him the orb, and asks if he's enjoying it. Now the bastard has number 2, right? I don't get what happened. But somehow he changed the game, and he tells our boy it'll be an honor to fight him. And now, already in the arena, the final fight was about to begin. And unlucky for the crowd, 2 battles would happen at the same time each round, bro. What? Forcing everyone to lose fast. Then the blonde half-elf dude named Sai Ching speaks to everyone. The first match would be between our boy from Yun Nation and that damn blondie, bro. The second match would be with the popular and stunning Chiango, that's what the guy called her, against the weirdo who got his neck cut and is still alive. Since the elimination stage is very dangerous, they do things the way they always do. A purple power appears beneath our boy. The guy jumps and says the matches will happen in another location. Now teleported to another platform, they're actually standing on top of a gigantic statue, so huge they look like little ants. And our boy immediately asks if the guy used his ability just to make sure he'd face him. He says he already knows. Ever since the first time they met, he noticed the guy was using a certain mysterious power. The first time it became obvious was when he used that revolver with only 1 bullet left, and it didn't fire. Apparently, he's looking for a powerful opponent, but he's not really that interested in the tournament. After all, if he really wanted to win, there were other ways to do it. So our boy asks why he was chosen. The guy just laughs like a lunatic and says that the kid really isn't just anyone. Very few people can see through his ability. He says that life is made of experiences, but unfortunately his future was full of certainties. He's been winning for a long time, and always knew exactly when to win and when to move forward. In other words, he was kind of bored. But against our boy, he felt a certain uncertainty, and that's exactly why he challenged him. This would be an interesting match. Our boy spreads his arms and says that since the guy is betting on him, there's only one path. He'll have to kill him in front of everyone. Otherwise, his first great failure will be broadcast to the entire world. The bipolar blonde tells our boy to relax. He would never choose a future where he loses, but then suddenly the guy pauses and realizes that our boy isn't doing anything. He's just telling him to go ahead and launch an attack. The elf decides, all right then, but before that, he closes his eyes to take a peek into the future. Right, man. He sees that in the first move, he'd take a sword to the gut. In the second, he'd be on the ground. In the next, he'd have his neck cut. He was already at the 16th possibility trying to find a solution. The guy's already at 26, bro. 190, 250 scenarios. The kid's like Dr. Strange. Poor guy's already collapsed on the ground, sweating, wondering how this is even possible. He couldn't believe he couldn't find a single way out. Not even against S-rank demons had he ever gone through something like this. He starts getting up and says he's heard of legends, beings that defy the abilities of mortal humans. They're like bugs, or basically unsolvable things. Meanwhile, in the other fight, bro, the poor waifu is getting a harsh dose of reality. Looks like she's trying all the power she has, but the bastard, obviously, regenerates instantly, and like that, there's no way to kill him. Take that. Another explosion in the middle of the arena. She's sitting far away, and the bastard walks out of the smoke intact. She managed to land a counterattack and tear off his arm, but the thing regenerates right after. But in that moment, she remembers Wujudman, and she knows that even facing a creature like that, he pressed forward despite its regeneration. Only now, when the beast gets face to face with her man, she just surrenders. Back with our boy, he says that if the elf isn't moving, it must mean there's no way to kill him. You might as well just give up now. He'll go look for someone stronger. The blonde guy, however, is confused. Since he was 16 years old, he's never lost. He finds it strange that this kid is saying that besides him, there might be someone else who could defeat him. But that was irrelevant because he had sworn to himself that he wouldn't lose to anyone. He tells our boy that they'll have to put their lives on the line. Ro uses a technique that converts all this strength and defense into luck. Then his luck shoots past 1,000 and he activates the domain of death. A rent aura starts forming around our boy, and suddenly the two of them are teleported. The SSS-ranked death demon greets Saemang and asks if someone else was truly able to push him to this point. Was he willing once again to put his life on the line for this bet? Our boy then says it's been a while since he entered one of these spatial abilities. It really was something interesting. Saemang explains that in this space, no ability can be activated. Besides that, if you lose the bet against death, it cuts off your head. Our boy, however, still isn't very impressed and says that the guy really is someone who surprises him. But then Saemang turns and says his life ends there. Obviously, our boy says he's excited, right, man? It would be pretty interesting to finally get to die. Death then tells him to spin the wheel and pick one of the numbers, but one who gets the exact spot that dice would land would be the winner. And obviously, as the winner, he leaves that place unharmed while the loser is forced to lose their head. Saemang immediately says he'll choose the color black. That was the lucky color. And Death then says that in that case, the boy is the color red. Man, I thought they had to keep picking numbers until someone landed on the right one. But nope, this thing's getting decided in a single spin. And our boy still doesn't care, just tells him to go ahead and get it started. But strangely, the overpowered Saemang says he has a new rule. He activates domain authority and trades 36 years of his life to buy 18 of the boy's numbers. Death laughs and says he appreciates the fear Saemang is feeling, since in this case, he'll allow that kind of cheating. Our boy, though, is just standing there with a dumb face, wondering if that's even possible. All that's left for him is the little zero and nothing else. Death says that at this rate, he's got 37 chances to die and 1 chance to survive. Our boy asks Saemang why he doesn't just buy the 0 too to help him out, to which he replies that 18 was the max. Besides, it was already more than enough. Death pulls the stone and says it was time to bet both their lives. He was eager to hear the sound of despair from whoever lost. Saemang's losing it, saying the boy only had 1 shot, and besides, he had amplified his own luck to the max. So that meant the boy's life was over. Our kid is just hoping, telling him to bring it on. Turns out our boy recognizes this roulette from his previous life. It was something humans commonly used. I thought he was talking about some roulette ability, but he's just talking about like how there's roulette in the human world. You damn bastard. He's just staring there, bro, saying it's impossible for him to win this. But then it spins, hits the number, and lands exactly on 0. Even I wasn't expecting that. I thought he was gonna lose and Death was gonna manage to kill him. But nope, the kid. Now I want an explanation. Saemang goes silent for a second and then pulls an angry face, wanting to know how this is even possible. He had a 97.3% chance of winning, and that was just the base rate, not even counting the 8,000 luck points he stacked before entering that place. He turns to our boy and asks if by any chance his base luck stat is higher than 8,000. Death is there saying that even he himself has never experienced anything like this. Looking at our boy, he says that his luck was way too high and undetectable. He says this to Saemang, explaining that he can't even see the kid's luck stat. Our boy immediately understands why he can't die no matter what. The luck stat was one of the few attributes that was awakened and didn't change much. It wasn't that useful, since in combat, it rarely mattered, maybe just once in a while helping you dodge an attack. On the other hand, in life, luck could help someone gain all the money in the world. At that, he starts wondering if that's the reason why he hasn't been able to die since the beginning, which obviously complicates everything. How is he supposed to fight against his own luck? Then he asks himself why he was transmigrated into this body in the first place. If the body had so much luck, shouldn't it have just accepted him being there? Remembering how everything's been happening and how things always work out, he starts to realize that now it makes sense why everything has felt so strange. As long as there's even the slightest chance for him to stay alive, he'll keep on living. Death then laughs and says it's interesting to meet someone who's above that will affect the entire world, as mentioned by the Lord. Danwo understood what death meant, and right away, Siming opens his arms and says it's fine. He lost, so his head had to be taken. Even though he could see countless futures, he couldn't find a way to escape this fate. He'd already run a casino, earned money to buy everything he had, and was dumb of that life. His destiny was to die there, since he couldn't keep his own promises and hadn't defeated Danwo. Death then says that the future, fate, and the heavens are things that can't be changed, and he tells Siming to prepare to be executed. But man, here comes Danwo stepping in and blocking Death's strike, saying that if he's going to risk dying there, he's not missing that chance. That bet involved all three of them, and it would be decided by all three. Death demands he explain what he means. Danwo then says he looked at the board again, and the number had changed. Death, however, says clearly he must have moved the thing himself, trying to throw his life away. But he had to understand the consequences of an action like that. Still, our boy points his sword and says that his future is determined by himself. If Death wanted to make sure the board was respected, then come fight him. Siming, however, thinks Danwo doesn't understand how that place works. The moment a being with that kind of power appears, everyone inside loses all their abilities and becomes ordinary beings. The demon then says fine, if he's seeking death, then let him find it. He unleashes a full strike that begins to ignore the domain's restrictions. But obviously, at the same time, his life gets restored instantly. Siming asks how it's even possible for him to regenerate if no ability should be working. Suddenly, Death says he knows only one person who'd survive something like that. Someone he knows and someone familiar. Then, out of nowhere, Death drops to his knees and asks if he inherited the powers of her lord. He says that once he was part of a contract with the demon general. Because of that, Death's powers don't affect the general in that place. In other words, he's deduced that it's our boy. Siming says he must be joking, that this legend of the Demon King was just nonsense. But Death is crying now, man, saying that since the king's death, he sealed himself in that place, waiting for him for hundreds of years, and asking if he can serve him again. Danwo, however, just stares silently, and with that, he's back in the arena. Siming comes walking up and says he didn't expect the boy to have a background like that, but he's come to the conclusion that now that the ace has been played and he didn't win, the only option is to surrender. The two return to the arena, and he says he's curious to see our boy using all the power he has. The announcer then declares that in the first match, Siming has surrendered, but the people in the arena are all wondering what just happened. The two stared at each other for 5 minutes, came back here and one of them surrendered, and the old guy's horn companion is saying that the Fire Kingdom is being humiliated. Everyone's surrendering to this kid. Now that I notice, it's a bearded elf man. I think that's the first time I've ever seen a cursed thing like that, and he says if Siming surrendered with such a calm expression, then he must have had his reasons. The first 2 rounds are over now, right man? The little waifu got beat up. Look at her already arriving at the hospital, bro, all bandaged with a slash on her arm. On the stretcher next to her is Woo Jun, who also got wrecked. There's the other ice waifu man. The girls are all arguing now. This bastard is more surrounded than our protagonist. He even tells the poor blondie that apparently she lost to the same person he did, but she's snapping back saying he lost to the same guy, so he better shut up because both of them got beat. That's when he says the aura he felt from that guy was strange. It didn't seem to belong to any demon clan. Whoa, man. Now he wants to see what's gonna happen. That's because the semi-final would be our boy against him. But then an announcement is made at the event. An emergency has occurred and participants number 5, Jasmine, and number 6, Lace, have disappeared. The scene then cuts back to 2 hours earlier with Lace's sister in the wheelchair. Of course, what a disaster. Where else would she be? A demon auntie is next to her calling the girl and asking if she needs help. She looks up, says thanks, and the woman takes her, saying she can call her big sis. All Lace needed was to make it to top 1, win the money, and start his sister's treatment. But then he starts wondering how long his sister's been in the bathroom. Oh, she was in the bathroom. I thought she was in the room, right? But no, because now only the chair is left behind. The van speeding down the city roads. The poor girl's been taken. What is this? Turbocharge. We're already in the mountains, man. They're already at a temple. The woman's out. already handed the girl over, paid the priest. Damn. But when the guy opens the back of the van, he asks, "Where's the delivery?" The demon lady wonders how it's possible. She was in the wheelchair, and she was drugged. There was no way she could escape. The monk, though, says she knows what the rules are in that place. All shaken up, the lady says not to worry. She'll find her now. But suddenly, something starts coming out of the guy's neck, and he says she's lost all credibility. Turns out she was smart. The moment the woman covered her mouth, she held her breath, stopped breathing, pretended to faint, and slipped out once the van started moving. She was walking alone through the forest when she found a strange temple full of people. That immortal freak from the arena is saying they'll have to gather everyone. Plans have changed. Someone had already noticed his presence, and they'd have to move things ahead. Yeah, nobody hunts anymore. Everyone wants to watch the tournament. Lace's sister, still don't know her name, is wondering why everyone seemed possessed. Then she spots that resectionist from before with a bleeding black eye and remembers she wasn't like that before. But right at that moment, someone behind her asks what she's doing there. Man, when she turns around, there's this freak with an open face saying the master is waiting for her at the meeting. Suddenly, this story got creepy. The girl was trembling, but then the guy gets closer and notices she's not one of them. Yet another guy peels open all twisted, but the smart girl acts fast. She puts on a dumb look and says she was given a special mission by the master. The guy dissolves, gives her a look, and says he understands. Luckily, he leaves and she realizes they seem unable to properly identify outsiders, but it's clear she has to get out of there now. She also noticed that the guy in the middle was obviously a tournament participant, and something shady was happening. She needed to warn her brother. She has no idea where she is, but the competition hotel was so huge that if she just heads in the right direction, she'll find it. But then, someone else from behind? Yep, it's that damn woman again saying they've met once more. The poor girl turns around, but of course by now the creepy lady's transformed and again, another freak monster shows up. But right as the bite is about to land, arrow tears through and explodes the woman. It's getting kind of gory now, bro. And now Lace arrives. Little badass has some swag, I'll admit. He asks if his sister's okay, and she says yes. Right away, he runs up and gives her a hug, telling her not to be afraid. Man, but look who showed up with them. The immortal devil still says this is the perfect situation. Bro, in that very moment, Lace doesn't waste a second. Already up in the sky, launching spells and firing arrows right at the bastards. There go a bunch of lines, smoke rises, tons of scenes getting cut, around 30 magic circles falling from the ceiling to the ground. Man, he used up all his energy. The problem though is that we already know how these guys are, right bro? Everyone's still standing intact in front of him. His sister said the obvious. It looked like those bastards had the same resurrection ability as Xing Tian, but she points out they probably had some kind of connection between them. Lace activates a sound cloud that starts sending waves around, and he spots some creatures inside each person. They were weird bugs, but the moment he noticed, the guy already ordered everyone to attack. Man, his sister is smart, bro. She says she's noticing they have a hierarchy system. They needed to deal with the one doing the controlling before doing anything else. Lace just says he gets it, and the kid's got guts, bro. He jumps back up, does a spin, activates his circle, and lands an arrow right on target. It was a freezing arrow. The guy's now a popsicle man. And with that, the others kind of cancel their movements too, right? Because they must have lost communication. His sister smiles and says those bugs must have some kind of mother-child relationship. They can only act if they're following orders. So if they cut off the source signal from the rest, they only needed to beat one. The problem though is that Lace is getting tired. He just advanced to rank S, and those abilities use up way too much energy. His sister's still smiling, but now, yeah, of course, her face changes. I already know that when I scroll down, obviously, she got stabbed in the gut. Well, I mean, it's just a little slash. Can she die? Yeah, it's possible. But usually I see some craters. And it was her, that damn old lady again. But she shouldn't be. It's because her host is from that monk guy, huh? That cursed one. Speaking of which, the moment Lace yells, the cursed one shows up in front of him. The guy even says he's pretty smart. It's just a shame for the kid that there's not just one mother bug. Then, he doesn't even strike Lace. He strikes the ice that was holding Xingtian. Immediately, the guy breaks free, launches an attack, and grabs Lace by the neck, lifting him up. The poor guy's about to lose consciousness, just sees his sister on the ground and knows it's over for both of them. But when the tear drops, boom, an arrow lands. Someone else just arrived. The two freaks are confused, and the sister's already recovering. Obviously, the one who arrived was Jasmine, and who, yeah, is also missing from the tournament. She asks if they're okay. Back in the arena, it looks like they're going to cancel both of their participation since they took forever to return. I'm still curious to see who number 4 is and that golden-looking one, bro. Just from the shadow, you can already tell she's powerful. And with that, the winner of the fourth match would advance straight to the final. The master shows up, looks around, saying he's heard this place is one of the most magic-dense places in the entire world. A place near the second zone that all races are interested in. And look, there she is, gang. We already saw she was powerful, and she says he has no chance of winning. The red tough hair guy pulls a dagger. He's about to say something, but before finishing, he himself dashes through a portal and appears behind her, saying he's going to be the winner. Goes in for a slash, but she crouches with a dangerous move and bam, kicks him right in the face. Meanwhile, our boy is watching with Bingyi. Looks like red tough guy has cloud element power, and that girl over there has star element, which is basically a counter. Suddenly, Woojin shows up, saying that even though she has the power of stars, that wasn't the real source of her strength. Bingyi asked if he's already recovered, and he replies that those kinds of injuries are normal on the battlefield. Then he turns to our boy to say something, but our boy instantly replies that he will win against Xingtian. It had been a long time since he felt a presence like that. It seemed the opportunity he'd been searching for had finally arrived. Meanwhile, deep in the forest, there's Jasmine mobilizing the three of them. The girl in the wheelchair asks how she found them there, and she replies that she's been tracking this organization for a while. And now the truth had finally become clear. These people had original bodies of the demon race, but they had been parasitized by the evil race. The sister asks how creatures like that could show up in the Flame Nation, to which Jasmine replies that according to the original timeline, it was during this tournament that they were supposed to appear for the first time. They could talk more about it later. First, they had to deal with the problem in front of them. The two guys are already trembling, saying to stop underestimating them. Here he comes, pulling out those weird giant worms and launching them at Jasmine. She just gives them a glance and says, not to worry. Dealing with level 1 creatures like those would be easy with a single attack. Lace says he'll help her then, and bam, 2 arrows slicing them up, bro. But as always, the problem isn't cutting the creatures, it's figuring out how to stop their regeneration. Jasmine jumps in and sends a plant-based attack, binding the two of them. She starts thinking up a strategy to weaken their bodies without needing to keep attacking non-stop. She slams her staff on the ground and says she'll have to use all the power inside her. The sea orchid appears while the demon says they wouldn't die to something like that. Jasmine turns to Lace and tells him the window of time would be short, so he better aim right. He says okay, prepares for the attack, and suddenly the bugs come out of the guys kind of in love. Bro, what's going on? Yeah, in the end, he didn't even need to pull the bow, just slashed right through. They drop to the ground. Looks like they really died, and Lace celebrates. Yeah, that was easier than I thought. Poor Wu Jin suffered so much, but now Jasmine is kind of falling apart, saying she doesn't have much time left. She tells him to come closer. She has something important to say. Meanwhile, back in the arena, bro, it's the fight we wanted to see. Please, artist, show us more of your talent with the baddest girl. Red tuft hair guy has given his speech, but she already knows the poor guy doesn't stand a chance, right, bro? He sends in his shadow clones, one on each side, grinning, but she just extends a finger, activates a lightning blast, and fries everything around her. The sucker is shocked, because she has both the star element and the lightning element. He wants to know why she hid that from him. She just turns and says he was never enough to make her go all out. She stretches out her hand and sends the poor guy flying, bam, into the ground. With that, Shu from the Boo Nation is declared the winner. The chubby lady in yellow of his mom is already calling for a stretcher for her son. Meanwhile, everyone's still wondering what her true strength is, since it looked like she didn't even try. Woojin is stunned that the tuft hair guy man got wiped out in an instant without any chance. The blonde girl explains that her strength is unquestionable. Apparently, in the first tournament she won was when she was 14 against that 50-meter tall muscle brute. What the hell, bro? She chopped off his head and everything, and since then, she's never lost. And what everyone still wants to know is, what's her real power limit? Dongwoo seems to have noticed that she pulled an armament from her hand and wonders if that's what she has. That being, well, we're obviously not going to find out yet. Bimmy says now it would be him versus Xingtian, so he better be careful. Yeah, little does she know, bro, that guy's already on his next life. Woojin turns and asks if he has any chance of winning, but before our boy can answer a news announcement, it's the TV. Participant Xingtian, who was scheduled to compete in the next qualifier, will no longer be able to. His body had been found on the main avenue by the security forces, and the team is investigating the cause of death. Woojin, obviously poor guy who got beaten up and wanted to see our boy thrash the guy, is kind of sad and kind of scared. And Bimmy already says that this is going to force his next match to be against the ultimate badass. And bro, we're already there face to face in the arena. The badass girl is looking gorgeous, arms crossed, giving him a stare. And the crazy guy was thinking that somehow he felt like this woman had the power to defeat him in an instant. In other words, this was the last chance he had to finally die. Nearby though, Saming is thinking that he'll finally get to see their true strength. The great battle between the two strongest demons of the demon clan was about to begin. Lace is arriving all exhausted, but the guards say the match has already started and he can't enter. He just pushes past them and says, "Out of the way, loser." But when he goes down the corridors, Another one shows up and slams him to the ground. What the hell, bro? These guards are restraining a rank S. Dear Lord, calm down. And looks like he had some very important information to give Dongwo. Back in the arena, Shu asks if it was him who said all the demons from her kingdom were weak. He says it was him indeed, and now he wants to see if she's really that strong and if she can take first place from him. The fierce lady is there with a stone-cold face, saying she'll give him 3 seconds. That's enough time. I agree. 3 seconds is actually quite a lot, girl. Next chapter starts with him. This is him in his past life, stating not to worry that he would bring victory to everyone. He approaches the waifu, saying that soon he would be back home to marry her. Easy to promise, huh, bro? Went in the next life just to dodge the wedding. And now Shu is going head on, slashing right in the neck. What the hell, girl? You're so aggressive. I knew she was strong, but not that strong. Dongwo, however, doesn't seem very impressed. He already knew from the intel he gathered that she was a dual element user, and right away he starts regenerating, wondering how he'll make her bring out her full strength. Shu turns and asks how it's possible that a rank A+ demon had such a powerful regeneration ability. Not even rank S ones could recover from that. Here she comes again, all dazzling, activating her lightning, saying that even so, he wouldn't stand a chance. Another beautiful kick, bro. You're dangerous. Lightning exploding everywhere. The narrator saying that poor boy doesn't stand a chance. Meanwhile, the fanboys in the crowd are all cheering for her attacks. Only an idiot would do something like that. On the other hand, there's Lace, who's still being blocked by the guards, right? The guy who just advanced to rank S, what a mess. The blonde girl is telling Bingi, as she already said, Shu can't lose to anyone. Woo-jun's there thinking that apparently Dongwo had already made up his mind. He'd asked our boy why he wanted so badly to return to the human race. The strength he had might be enough for him to be the grand champion. He could be at the pinnacle of the demon clan. He would have the glory and admiration of millions. Even if he went back to the human race as a demon, no one would dare say anything to him. But the badass simply says that he's not interested in any of that. He knew that at that moment she was alone, facing the uncertainty of the unknown. Even he once believed he had died, and he couldn't let her wait anymore. But there he is in the arena, the ground completely shattered. It's raining, and he asks if she's already used all her strength. Shu turns and asks if even after all that, he still can't be killed. Our boy stands up and says that she's just another useless one. Apparently, she didn't have the strength necessary to take revenge for her clan. He says he already noticed that to become stronger, she practiced the unknown technique of the demonic armor, puts his hand on his face and says that, however, it's a shame. Her future version wouldn't stand a chance of getting revenge in the end. That's because at the moment she completed the demonic armor and gained the necessary strength, she would lose herself and fall into darkness. Besides that, this land was destined to be taken over by the demon clan. The leaders would be destroyed and the demons enslaved. The demon clan she knows would no longer exist. He's telling her not to use the armor, and there she is activating the armor and telling him to shut up. She charges forward, hits him in the chest, and now in his eye twitched. Ah, and now it's explained. He seems to have recognized her, right? He remembered the version he met in the future, and it seems he had to kill her in that other life too. The problem is maybe he went too far with the provocation, and now she's actually way too angry. Even the barrier meant to seal any kind of fight was starting to break. And then a message pops up for our boy saying that the demonic armor was suppressing some of his abilities. The poor guy starts smiling, and finally his 99 per second healing was starting to slow down. Everyone around is sure this fight is already over. Shu would be the winner. Woo-jun is sure this must be what Dongwo wants, so he can move on to another life. Nagi and the damage reflection skill attacks from our boy are doing much to her. He's there with blood all over his face saying he's finally going to be able to fulfill the promise he made to her. But suddenly, a voice cuts into the arena saying to drop the mic, and then someone calls out to our boy and says there's something important he needs to tell him. He had to know something about Jasmine, or rather, the girl known as Hao Liana. Shu was the one who asked him to deliver this message. He had to win this fight and reach the top of the demon rank. He hadn't returned alone. This journey of his back to the past wasn't the solitary one. Just then, Shu was coming in to land another blow, saying this would be the final attack. But right then, Lace finishes the message saying Jasmine had promised she would meet our boy if he won. At that moment, he blocks Shu's attack. Bro, out of nowhere, in a second, there's a white-haired ninja right in front of our boy. Now he's finally sure that the Jasmine he saw was the same girlfriend from the past. Or actually, the future. Right. Everyone's wondering, what is this giant ice demon? The former general man already recognizes it, saying that now the power that had once saved their nation has arrived. It was good for them to know that now that Gam was taking this seriously, the end of this was already decided. Poor Shu, man, just struggling to deal with a clone. And this demonic armor is really tight, man, and the transformation was only only at 20% so far. She's there asking our boy if that's the best attack he's got, but our boy is just wondering if Jasmine really was Nana. Besides that, from what Lace said, it seems like she had been reborn too. Why, however, she didn't reunite with him directly, and why it seemed like there was something she couldn't say. The dragon apologizes, saying that he also couldn't be absolutely sure it was her. This is the sad boy, but he says it's okay, there are things no one can predict. His friend wants to know what they're going to do, and he says it's obvious they have to find her as fast as possible. There's a lot he wants to ask and wants to find out, and if she wants him to win this and stay on top, he's going to do that because there must be a reason. With that, Lace gives the mic back to the narrator, thanking him and saying he can continue. And he goes back saying that something no one expected was happening. Gandalmo was a summoning demon, and the ice creature he had brought to the arena was extremely powerful and was putting pressure on the legendary Shu. Another explosion in the middle of the field, and her armor was already at 35%. Then man, our boy's demon dropped. She's all possessed, saying that now he's next. And this is already getting hairy with that whole animalistic stance, saying that he's going to pay the price for his words. Our boy warns that she's soon going to start feeling the side effects of this transformation. She, however, tells him to shut up, saying she's not going to accept being defeated like this. This is coming flying to explode on him, who's chill with his hand in his pocket. The arena is taken over by smoke. Everyone's holding on. Even Benji is scared. The Dame Blonde, however, says his charade is over. In the first match, the arena exploded and no one saw how he won. And in the second, he made some kind of deal with Saimeng for him to give up. Finally, it was the end of his charades. There was no way he could win, only based on luck. Wujin, however, says that ignorance is a blessing. For Gandalmo to beat Shu, he didn't even need to use all the power he had. The Blondie is coming over there, telling him to stop speaking badly about her nation. But the Ice Queen already grabs her hand, and the two start fighting. Now that Wujin heard what Lace said, he already knows what decision our boy is going to make. And that girl is getting bigger and tighter in that arena, man. Meanwhile, our boy is there in his swag with the sword on his back. She turns around all possessed, saying that once again, somehow he recovered. And her transformation was already at 80%, energy exhaling to the skies while he asks if she really wants to experience the full transformation. She should have already noticed that after 50%, she's being taken over by her emotions. Shu, however, says whatever. She was willing to lose her sanity to win this. Gandalmo replies that she really had a strong obsession. On the path of power, she would only find darkness. The monstrous one, however, just ignores it, bro, already in the squat position, saying that nothing's going to stop her. She would win once again and remain at the pinnacle of the demon clan. Transformation at 99, he says he finally understood how she feels. He pulls the sword, throws it to the side, and says it's time to end this. She's coming head on to hit him, everyone tense. Their energy collides and the ground starts breaking, the barrier comes undone. Yeah man, you better get out of there people, or you'll die if that stage falls. Or actually no, because her transformation apparently was undone. Man, in 1 second she regains her sanity and wonders how it's possible that this happened. She was supposed to not only be the pride, but the most powerful of all people in the demon nation. Someone get those shards out of the way, man. It's that mess getting in the way. While she looks at our boy, thinking that for a moment she saw the true pinnacle of the demon race. She falls to the ground and our boy is announced as the winner. The blondies who were fighting at the time turn to the screen, man, and he just stabs the sword into the ground. Nearby, there's a hooded figure watching everything, saying that since she didn't win, it was time to switch to plan B. He entered the shadow and vanished, bro. Suddenly, Nishinori shifts to Lace, asking if Gandanguo is ready. He shows a ribbon with a star and says she was waiting for him there. What the dut was fast, bro, we're already there with her at the playground. As soon as he appears, she says that he really did win. Whoa, man, he seems to be in the human world there. That one's the so-called Sacred Nation, and he sees some Manhua passing by. I think he's seeing a memory, right? Because there he is from the other life, and a guy saying the armor's already been checked. This guy wants to go on a mission with him, but Gandango said it wouldn't be necessary because tomorrow was his son's birthday, so it was better he stayed home. Our current Gandanguo, right? The one we've been following in the story, knows that this is 6 years in the future from where he is now, one day before he goes back to the past. From 1 second to the next, the buildings are all being destroyed and torn down. Jasmine appears and says that they've finally met. He asks what's going on and why the place was all wrecked. She then says that this was the result of everything and apologizes for bringing him back without his consent. But the truth is, she didn't know how to face this future alone. 6 years from now, on this exact day, the demon clan would begin a global attack. Humanity didn't stand a single chance of resisting. And there she is, bro. Right in the middle of the destruction, but stunning. Ah, man. She says she had already been reborn many times. But no matter what she does, it's always too late. Every time she reincarnates, she manages to go back 6 months, but it's not enough time since the demon clan had already set their plans in motion. The tough guy gives her a tight hug, saying that the one who has to apologize is him, since he let her face all of this alone. He already suffered too much with this single reincarnation, so he couldn't even imagine what it was like to go through this countless times. He always thought it was the system that was capable of reincarnating him, but now he knows it was her, and he asks how she did it. She then explains that 6 years in the future, when she died the first time, she received the ability of rebirth. The problem is that it wasn't really a rebirth. Actually, it was a time return of 6 months, which wasn't enough to change anything. She repeated the same process, looking for a solution more than 500 times, and got stuck. Until, in her search to find a solution for this, she went into demon territory. At that point, the demon clan had already almost completely wiped out the demons. Only a few survivors existed as slaves, and that's where she found a strange demon. Whoa, man, it's our boy chained up, asking if there's a way to kill him. She then says that was where she found the strange demon named Ganluo, a person who had his whole family and clan killed, and he said that the more he sought death, the stronger he became. But the stronger he got, the more pain he felt. A single person like him didn't have enough strength to go against the entire demon clan. Besides that, he had no way to resurrect, since he couldn't die. But he offered her a deal using an ancient demon technique, something that would allow her to go even further back in time and also bring one other person. The only thing is that now she would have to deal with all of it, and the big price, however, is that she would have to take his body and live through this existence no one would want to go through. Obviously, our boy knows that that's exactly what he's been going through. And Jasmine says that the truth is that there are 4 great races: humans, the demon clan, the spirit clan, and the demons clan. And from now on, they needed to join with the other races to stop the demon clan. In the past life, they won that tournament and managed to take control of the second region. With that, they were able in a secret way to change the decisions of the demon clan. Reminder, there are 2 kingdoms, the demon kingdom and the evil kingdom. Dongwo then says that at least this time he already won the tournament, meaning he stopped the first step of those guys. She, however, says it's not that simple since there are spies of that guy all over the clan. As soon as she infiltrated the tournament, they discovered her presence and immediately started changing plans. They don't know how far they'll go. There's certainty they'll still want to take the second region. Back in the arena, the Yunmation is congratulated for winning the 46th tournament. Before that, though, the ceremony of the passing of the second region would be carried out. They call the Lord of the Yunmation and Bingy to the stage. Real cute as always, there she is, man. While at home, everyone's cheering and crying with emotion. The old man's emotional, saying it had been 100 years since he saw this place prosper. With the demon all bandaged up, though, he's wondering, where's Tian Xiao? Uh-oh, man, looks like Tian Xiao is already dead on the ground. And that blonde kid there called Xinling wants to know where the damn Gan Dongwo is. Man, he hit the little kid our boy saved. Don't do that, man. It's my job to save that bastard. Back in the arena, the guy from the Demon Kingdom is saying he can't believe the key to that place is going to be passed by a mere woman. Looks like Yunmation didn't have anyone capable enough. Bingy just ignores it and says she knows his daughter is also a heroic girl. Besides that, he fought alongside her father on the battlefield, so all that talk was unnecessary. He glances to the side and says whatever. The key to the second region was basically the supreme treasure of the Demon Clan. He touches the orb and says that he didn't want to pass this on to her in any way. She, however, just accepts it and thanks him, saying she'll protect it very well. The narrator says the ceremony was complete, and it was time to start the second part, but suddenly, a spear goes through his chest. The two turn around, asking what happened, and out of nowhere, there's a weird guy there, the big bug-looking dude, saying that the evil clan has arrived. It was time to mess this place up. Whoa, man, he activates something and some demons come out of everyone's body around them. Right away, Wu Zhen tells the two of them to get ready. Bro, Bingy is gorgeous from this angle, so please save her. The demons are getting ready, and the dude from the army steps in front, telling her not to worry. Meanwhile, I want to know where Dongguo is, right, man? Ah, he's in the illusion world. He got taken away by his consciousness. He's far off. Yinen says the human clan must be in total chaos. And she says Jubeo launched a military strike to remove everyone from command as soon as he left. The problem is that when she transmigrated the first time, her body was way too weak. She didn't have enough power, and also didn't have the strength to stop Jubeo. A guy shows up beside her and asks if the captain hasn't woken up yet, and she just tells Manhua to keep gathering his comrades. She then explained to our boy that using her ability, she created kind of some clones of his comrades to go to the day when everyone was going to be killed. That gave enough time for her and the army folks to escape all of that. She also managed to create a plan for him to get his weapon back, and luckily, so far, everything worked out. Dong was excited that his friends, right, seemed to be alive since she made this whole plan. He then asks how she's doing. He knows that copying people's bodies and creating these illusions takes a lot of mental energy, so how did she make so many? She, however, smiles and just tells him not to worry, that everyone arrived safely in the capital. When a girl says that in an anime, you already know she's either going to die or suffer a lot. She says that when she created the copies, and when she turned into that girl from the demon clan, she had already recovered a good part of her power, so it didn't drain her that much. The original plan was for her alone to defeat Xingqian and stop all of this, but that's when she realized he had also entered the competition. She noticed those guys' plan changed too, and now the only option was to make him win. She killed Xingqian and his group, but that left her completely powerless. The problem is, she knows there are other members of the demon clan controlling other bodies. The bad part is that's all the info she has. She doesn't know who they are. On top of that, this time travel seems like it went way further back than it should have, and her resurrection abilities seem to be failing, so this was her last chance. And he then says not to worry, that she'd never have to be resurrected again. There's no way he would let the evil clan take over the second region. He would eliminate every last one of their members. The world they're talking in is starting to break apart, and she says it's a shame, but it wouldn't last much longer. He gives her a hug and tells her not to worry, that as soon as they're defeated, he'll come find her. But here she comes saying there's one more little thing she has to tell him. And obviously we're back in the arena, right? No way we're not gonna find out, bro. Demons, they're beating the dark out of the human. The only mustached elf in the story is they're wondering how that happened, right when the papaya comes from behind, man. But then a slash cuts through the demon. Look at Saming, bro. Woke up to life now. Sold 37 years of his life, right? Is no one gonna talk about that? Did you catch what happened? The bearded guy wants to know what he's doing there. He was supposed to be protecting the key, but he says not to worry. The second brother is down below. Another demon's getting sliced, bro. There's the general, and that bastard's even got a bit of swag. He says it's his army's fault for letting that bunch of trash infiltrate this place. But suddenly, a strange shadow approaches them, and out of nowhere his body gets all twisted. That weirdo there, bro, is like a Shikamaru from the dark web known as Wuxiang SS rank. The general is standing there, kind of being controlled, and then he's all wrapped up wanting to know why he's being sucked in. The guy gives the order to attack Bingy, saying the key is with her. Right when the attack was about to land on her face, a green slash comes in. I thought it was our boy, but it's Wujin Man. Arrived just in time to save her. Another one comes from behind and also takes a slash. The problem is it looks like he's only cutting shadow, which means he's not doing much. And there he is now too. Another fool being immobilized. Sharktooth asks where everyone's strength is. In theory, this tournament was supposed to have the strongness of the demon tribe. If this is the strength of their best, then their military power must be useless. The evil shadow is squeezing Bingy tight. Everyone's screaming, telling him to stop it, while the possessed guy is smiling. But now he's here, bro. The guy's summon smashes his head into the ground. Our boy is there, just silent, all emo. Now he's gonna turn into the badass, right? Said Ming is already all shining. The mustached guy that wants to know how one person is gonna beat so many. No way, guys. Mom, I want Sun Jinwoo. No, son, we have Sun Jinwoo at home. Look at Sun Jinwoo at home right there, girl. Exactly the same. Even the camera angle, the way he's holding his hand, bro. Saying now the end has come for them. There's the Walmart army against the possessed ones. Wuzhen says he's finally going to use the strength he has, while the general dude says he'll protect the demon lord. Wuzhen says not to worry and to leave the front of the battlefield to the boy. That other bearded old man, yeah, now I need a name for him, right? His name is Guang, he's Shu's father, so I'll just call him by name. And that other one with the red hair, who I also need a name for, is Shu's brother. Literally, that's his name. Incredible. And Guang says he never imagined the demon tribe would depend on him. There's our boy, bro, half in smoke with his hand in his pocket. Summoning dragon, bear, soldier. Am I going crazy? Did he always have this power and I forgot? I guess I don't know, man. I don't know where it came from. It showed up. I don't know. I don't remember. Walmart Shikamaru, though, comes in for another attack, makes some hands appear around, crushes our boy and starts smiling, celebrating, says he's an SSS soldier and will never lose like that. His attack not only had terrifying elemental powers, but also destructive force. Guang wonders how the boy is going to handle this. Physical attacks are useless against shadows. Walmart Shikamaru is throwing a bunch of slashes into and toward the shadow, saying those attacks are hitting directly inside. But from the middle of the shadow, suddenly some things come flying out, split in two. One torpedo hits the shoulder, the other the arm. The fool is wondering how he got hit and if the guy wasn't supposed to be immobilized. As soon as he sees our boy, there he is as always with full HP.